Stand up, New York Giant fans. Super excited. Got Bobby on the channel tonight. We, of course, went to training camp together today. Had a lot of fun. Asked him while I was there if he'd want to pop on a late stream to kind of recap what we saw today, talk about the season, what's at stake this year, what we're looking forward to, some of our strengths and our weaknesses. And I figured, Bobby, maybe 15, 20 minutes in, we'll take a couple of video callers. We'll feed off the chat like we always do. But Bobby, man, thanks for popping in.
Of course, always good to jump on the channel. It's been a while, but we've been doing things together, and camp has been fun, man. I was watching some of your videos today from practice.
Yeah.
And I noticed I'm like giving play-by-play for half of them. I'm like, get rid of the ball. That's what you do when you protect against the blitz. So I got a good laugh out of that once I noticed it.
Yeah, somebody commented on that on Twitter, actually, in one of the responses. They're like, I could listen to Bobby's play-by-play all day or his breakdown or whatever they said.
There's even some other people, like I know what it's like to be like Troy Buck or Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. They're like, how can he get rid of the ball? It was 2 seconds, So it was,
yeah, I saw that too. I think it was somebody else that was saying get rid of the ball in the background. I don't think it was you or me.
It was fun though.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just posting the link to anybody that may want to join in the video chat. If you want to call in via video caller, I'm going to talk to Bobby for about 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll take a couple of you guys if you want to come on via video. But Bobby, let's start with training camp today. And then we'll kind of, trickle into the season. So you've now gone to every single practice. What did you think in terms of the difference in the offense today as opposed to the previous practices? Because all I've heard basically the full week is that the offense has kind of been behind the defense. Today looked like the offense was ahead of the defense, especially when you factor in that it was 3rd and long that they were simulating throughout the majority of the practice. I actually thought the offense looked really good today.
Yeah, so I'll go like day by day. The first 2 days, the offense was fine. Nothing special, but it was fine. If you come away from practice hyped about certain elements of it, but you're not like riding home. Day 3, I thought it was just the offense was horrible, but it was mostly like the offensive line with Jamil Douglas the center. They couldn't pick up protections. I know we talked about Jones that day because Pat Leonard wrote that article about how they should trade for Jimmy G that day, so the focus turned on DJ. But it was just the offense as a whole. Now, Daniel Jones had been holding on to the ball too long. The Saturday, I guess it was mid, to use that term. And then on Monday, Daniel Jones just looked bad. He was missing. He was off on some timing stuff. I know some of the receivers are to blame a little bit at times, but he just looked bad. And then today he looked good. Even though today was his 2-interception day, he did look good besides that. And I know that's a big besides, but you were there, obviously. He went 16 for 20, getting the ball out quick, standing in the pocket when he needed to and pushing the ball downfield. And it was a tough day as far as situational stuff. Like today, they started with 3rd and 10, and then they were doing 2-minute drills and then red zone. So it was some of the tougher situations. He looked pretty good. He looked pretty solid today.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point in terms of him getting the ball out fast, getting the ball out quick, because that's a common a common thing that people talk about when they bash Daniel Jones. I thought that he did a good job getting the ball out quick today. And for the most part, he was accurate. He looked confident, made 2 bad throws, one of which I think was a great interception. I really do. The second throw, but the one in the red zone obviously was the worst throw of the day. But overall, I thought the offense looked really good. Much better, at least from what I've heard in recent weeks. The offensive line, I thought for the most part. Now, Evan Neal, we talked about him on the stream we did on your channel. But overall, I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job in terms of picking up the blitz. That was definitely a plus for me. But
that was big for them today because they were sending the blitz a lot too.
Yeah, but it's practice. So I'm not going to – you know what I say, man, on Twitter all the time? When people bash Daniel Jones, I'm not going to get too high when he looks good. I'm not going to get too low when he looks bad. It's practice. They're working on things. They're supposed to make mistakes. It's just exciting to be back out there, watch this Giants team. And I kind of want to jump into – because we haven't really gotten an opportunity to really talk about this upcoming season and what your expectations are going into the year. So I kind of wanted to really dive into that with you, get your take on it.
I want to make one more point on it. It's been a weird situation because now we were talking about Daniel Jones getting the ball out quicker. This offense is to push the ball down the field, so naturally he's going to be holding it a little bit longer than he has the last 2 years. But they're playing a defense every single day in Wink Martindale that's sending the house. So it's a defense you might need to get the ball out a little quicker, especially if you don't have the best protection in front of you. And you're not game planning for it, so it's been a challenge for the offense. But
that's good. You want a challenge. You want a challenge in practice, so that's a good thing. Jeremiah, man, thank you very much, man. Entertainer, super excited to have you on the Shakedown. You are the man. Thank you, Jeremiah in Alaska coordinate. Yeah, man, for sure, man. I always try to work with everybody. I think one of your guys reached out to me via email, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to popping in there. But Bobby, I think we both agree the biggest weakness to this team, I think most people agree with this, the biggest weakness to this team is going to be the secondary. And how concerned are you with the secondary going into the year? Because I'm petrified. That to me is by far the thing I'm scared of most with this team.
Camp has made me feel slightly better, but at the end of the day, camp doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, we talked about it today, or actually, no, we talked about it with somebody else today, Chris. And you have Adoree Jackson, who coming off an outstanding year, moving to cornerback 1, though, not playing cornerback 2. You have Aaron Robinson, who's totally untested, who was moving from nickel to outside, even though he played a good amount of outside last year when he did get playing time. And then Darnay Holmes, and then obviously McKinney's good at free safety, loves a solid player. And then Dane Belton's your third safety. He just broke his collarbone, which is on a thin group. It was the one guy out of those groups. If like, hey, he's going to miss some games, that's the guy you would pick. But that's my issue. Is like it's not a great secondary when you just list them all healthy. They're one Adoree Jackson, Aaron Robinson injury away from just being like torched every week. And we know Wink Martindale last year when the Ravens got banged up. I mean, they were dead last in passing defense last year. And obviously that was, that's not much of that's not too much of a critique of Wink Martindale because he's coached good defenses and players. It's all at the end of the day, it's Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. But Wink Martindale had that comment saying, don't get your cornerbacks from DoorDash during the offseason. It was like, well, buddy, we're here. Like DoorDash is at the door and we're about to start the season. So the secondary is definitely the most worrisome thing of the season. Hopefully they can overproduce.
Do you think Wink, because we all know Wink's philosophy and we've seen it in practice so far, but do you think if, a couple of weeks into the season, if Wink realizes that this secondary is not going to be able to hold up, not going to be able to do the things that he needs them to do to be as aggressive as he wants to be as a defensive coordinator, do you think Wink is capable of making that adjustment? Do you think he could change? Because we know Wink's philosophy. I mean, the Ravens were breaking records in terms of their blitz frequency while he was the coordinator there. Is he capable of shifting in terms of his defensive approach if this secondary isn't getting the job done?
Wink has always shown the ability to adjust, but within being Wink, where he's always gonna throw pressure at you. But I do think it's not going to be as all out maybe as we're seeing in camp, where it's so much blitzing.
Yeah.
But like I watched when they hired Wink Martindale, I was like, okay, let's watch that Bills Ravens playoff game from 2020. And you're watching that game, you're playing against Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. They didn't blitz like barely at all in that game. Now, it was still a lot of man coverage, but they weren't blitzing at all. And that was a game where the Bills' offense didn't do particularly well with Brian Dable. So I think there's going to be adjustments and changes. And Wink's not an idiot. He knows what his secondary is. And especially if Adoree were to go down, there will be, I think, some massive changes. But it's going to be within like hey, we're still going to work on bringing the pressure. Maybe not as much, but we're going to be bringing it.
Yeah. Which I think Giants fans are excited about that. But at the same time, at least I'm a little bit nervous because I know in our secondary. But it's exciting. Like, I didn't hate Patrick Graham. I actually thought Patrick Graham did a pretty good job. But there were times last year where it was excruciating. Like we're giving up touchdowns right before the half every game. It just felt like at times we were a little bit too conservative on that side of the ball. And that maybe some of that had to do with Joe Judge as well. We're not going to be conservative on either side of the ball this year. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. I think the offense and the defense are both, they're going to take their shots, and they're also going to get beat because of it. But it's going to be a much more fun team to watch. Graham
was definitely, I love Graham. I think he's one of the smartest minds in the game, and he changed a lot actually from year 1 to year 2. Ended up going to more the bend, don't break, but they did it in a different way. And they had the slow start last year, obviously, but kind of caught their steam as they went. But definitely a smart guy. But with the way the pass rush was, and we talked about it when we do our game previews during the season. When do we ever go into a game and be like, man, I'm scared of the secondary? We say their secondary is good, very respectful. You got to be careful. But you get scared when it's like, dude, they got Max Crosby on the other side. Like they got those pass rushers. Pass rush puts the fear into a game plan. Secondary doesn't. Secondary makes you more careful. Pass rush, changes the way you change. I mean, Wink Martindale, offensive coordinators always say Wink is one of the toughest, if not the toughest guy to prepare for week in, week out. Now, within that, they had some games where, the Bengals dropped 500 yards on them with some bad secondary. So it's not always good, but they're definitely going to bring the punch to them instead of being patient.
Yeah, and I remember when we played them with Daniel Jones. I mean, we couldn't stop their blitz to save our lives in that game. So that's the one thing, Bobby. I keep saying it. When I look at our schedule, I see a lot of either inexperienced quarterbacks or just mediocre quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, I feel like Wink potentially could really take advantage of the schedule that we have, regardless of the limitations in our secondary. I think he's going to show a lot of different looks to these inexperienced quarterbacks. You look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, really talented, but he's in a new scheme this year. It's relatively early in the season. I could see him taking advantage of quarterbacks like that. Jalen Hurts, for example. So I do think our schedule sets up pretty favorable for our defense. Due to the fact that we're not playing a ton of great quarterbacks. I mean, you think about the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. We play what? 3 of them, maybe, if you consider Dak a top 10 quarterback. We're not playing Pat Mahomes. We're not playing Josh Allen. We're not playing Joe Burrow. So Justin Herbert. So I think we stand. I think the schedule sets up favorable for our defense. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge Wink Martindale and the defense on if Aaron Rodgers just lights them up.
Of course.
I'm going to judge him on, hey, when the talent is maybe not always equal, but at least close enough to where you got to fight. How do they look? And same with the offensive side too. It's like I'm watching how the coaching works, and and that's something I've set as a goal for the Giants this year. It's not necessarily a win total, but let's be the team that beats bad teams, but it's not a good team. It's not similar to the Eagles. Now, hopefully, like the Eagles, it's not you only beat bad teams and don't beat a single playoff team, but let's beat some bad teams. Get upset win here or there. 6-7 wins. I think everyone thinks that's a fair prediction for the Giants. Instead of being like the team we've been in the past, where we are the bad team that the bad teams beat.
Yeah. Yep. And we played plenty of bad teams this year that hopefully we could take advantage of.
Like, let's not get blown out by like the god awful Bears this year.
Oh, please not. OGR, man, thank you very much. Just Tana, what's good, man? Good to see you, Jeff, man. I hope you had a great summer, and I hope you're looking forward to Giants football this year. Chris Epp says, hey, Chris, been loving the content. Will you be live streaming the Hall of Fame game this Thursday? No, probably not. In terms of doing broad NFL games, I'm not going to bother outside of the Giants in the preseason. In season, if it's an interesting matchup, I'll definitely be doing some primetime games this year, especially teams from within the division. But no, not going to bother with the Hall of Fame game. I'll probably be watching the Mets.
Who is the Hall of Fame game this year?
I don't even remember. Somebody in the chat's going to say it. I don't even remember. It's probably the Rams. Are the Rams involved? Is it usually the Super Bowl? I don't know. The Super Bowl winner.
No, they usually do 2 teams of guys that made it to the Hall of Fame. So hold on, I'm
Raiders,
right
Jags.
now.
Raiders,
Jags. Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to hearing you talk about their rookie defensive tackle Neil Farrell in the third quarter. So you're letting us down, Chris.
King Trizzy, man, what's going on, man? Stand up. It's my birthday. Let's go, Giants. Happy birthday, Trizzy, man. Thanks for popping in. Andrew Christopher. He says hi. What's up? What's up, Andrew, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. And let's get to hopefully we get a couple of questions here. Tuto, he says, massive salute day to Chris. Drop by your office to pay our proper respects and slap all the stinky Sheagles out the door. He loves slapping the Eagles. I'm sure he pops into your channel as well, Bobby.
I'm excited for it.
Julian says, I definitely prefer Wink style of defense. Hated watching teams just dink and dunk us to death. I'd rather live and die by the sword, to speak. Yeah, I like it too, but we say that now. If we go into and we're giving up tons of big plays, we may say to ourselves, maybe I didn't mind Patrick Graham's philosophy too much. So we'll see. I still worry about whether or not we have the personnel to do what Wink wants to do, or be at least as aggressive as Wink has been in the past. But hopefully we're pleasantly surprised, Bobby. I said it on Twitter. I think Aaron Robinson is one of the 5 most important players on the team this year.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And a lot of people question that when they saw that, when I put that on Twitter. I said, listen, with as aggressive as we're going to be on defense, if he can't cover, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So, we'll see. But maybe Aaron Robinson does surprise. There's been times, though, at least from the clips I saw, and even today, he's looked a little bit questionable to me in practice at times on the outside, which I expect.
He's hit or miss. Like, he's either like, oh, man, look at him locking down guys. He's breaking up passes. Or like you said, there are times where he's getting picked on.
Like on the Tony throw today, on the 30-yard throw on the far sideline. He kind of just burnt him on that play.
Yeah, and like those are plays that'll lose you games. So, yeah, I agree with you on the Aaron Robinson take, though. I think the team, for a big part, hinges on his success. Like, if it depends on how well he plays. So, and he's
the X factor to me, at least on the defense. He's the X factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if not him, the guy who replaces him if he's not doing the job. But that second cornerback is going to be huge this year. Who would be next in line? You think Cordell Flott?
Flott got a little work on the outside. They called him for holding on one of them, but I actually I like Flott. Flott's the one guy who was a nickel at LSU, but I do think he has the ability to play outside. He's long, he's springy. Like I like Flott. He's young and raw, but I
Yeah,
like
that's
him.
what they said when we drafted him. Like he has the measurables to play on the outside, but he's at least as of now, a lot of people felt like he was better suited to play in the slot.
I have a take that I haven't said yet, and I was thinking about it today. I was kind of wish we did on the stream. Darnay Holmes has been getting a lot of love because of the turnovers he's produced, but he's also gotten picked on a lot in man coverage. Like, and that's kind of the scouting report on Darnay. Like in zone, he knows what he's doing. He's instinctive. Like he's smart. He's not going to get beat badly. But in man, he's had some struggles. So I don't even know how I got onto that, but it just popped in my head.
Well, yeah. Well, Darnay Holmes has been getting a ton of. I mean, rightfully so. He created 4 turnovers in the first 4 practices. But
It's just one of those things. Like I kind of noticed. I kind of thought about it today. It's like, the interceptions are great and stuff, but he has gotten picked on a little bit in man. But in zone, he's looked his best, which is what Darnay is at this point.
Yeah, he's another big X factor for this team too. If he's going to be the starting slot, we need him to step up too. Thomas, man, he says 2 Talking Giants entertainment collabs in one day. Amazing, best 2 Giants channels on YouTube. Talking Giants versus the world. P.S. Pat Leonard sucks.
Just hitting all the things I like there. Thanks, Thomas. Yeah. Thomas's uncle was our baseball coach in my high school, and I found that out recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Coach Penicola.
Let's talk about Pat Leonard real quick. I know we're going to agree on this for sure, but what did you think about that article that he came? I know what you think, but how ridiculous was that? The timing of that, 3 non-padded practices into the season, and he's already talking about the possibility of moving on from Daniel Jones.
I don't know how a human being enjoys being themselves when you he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like when I say he's not an idiot, it's like he knows what he's doing. He's going for the most salacious thing he can look for, trying to get as many clicks as possible. So it's totally fake.
And to me, Bobby, that tweet appeals to that small niche of Giants fans, like that niche that wanted to take Malik Willis at 5th overall. And there was a niche. There was probably 15%, 20% of Giants fans. And those Giants fans love hearing that. But for the rest of the Giants fan base, you're just being a shit starter.
More so for you get the quote tweets from everybody around that aren't Giants fans who aren't in the situation like us, where it's who aren't paying attention to the Giants day in, day out. Like, if I saw the same exact headline with fill in the blank team, like I wouldn't think like, oh, maybe this reporter is the worst human being ever. I would just take him at the headline's word.
He's got a history too, though, right? I mean, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, I think it was, he destroyed Daniel Jones for the way that he handled COVID when they went out to a bar, and the story came out like 6 weeks after the fact. He's always been a guy that's been a shit starter and has looked to bash players on the team.
Or trying to get Odell traded, and then as soon as Odell's traded, talking about how could the Giants trade Odell.
Yeah.
The Tony trade stuff.
The Tony trade stuff. Yeah.
I was in the same place with Pat Leonard one time, and I kind of had to have an adult moment. It's like, don't say anything to him, but he did walk away from where I was for
Where were you? Where were you?
It was in the Bucks game, the night before the Bucks game in Tampa.
Oh, okay.
And once I showed up, he kind of just went away from where I was for the next 2 hours. But part of me is I've basically told this guy he sucks a lot. Should I say it to his face, or should I just be an adult and just leave it alone?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to say it. I think he knows it. I think he knows.
Yeah,
most Giants think he sucks.
I booed him the other day.
Chef says Daniel Belcow is the new Caden Smith. Let's go, 15 touchdowns, 800 yards. He likes Daniel. He's always a big tight end guy. Chef actually betted on Caden Smith to score the first touchdown in every Giants game the last 2 years, and it just never happened. But he loves the tight end. Bellinger has been getting first, basically exclusively working with the first team.
Yeah, just not getting a lot of targets.
Not a lot of targets. We kind of talked about that briefly today too. I don't see it, but maybe I'll be wrong. I don't think, at least this year, they're going to use the tight end a ton in this passing game. That's not to say they're not going to use him at all, especially around near the red zone, I would think. But I think Bellinger and pretty much the majority of the tight ends on this team, their primary role this year is going to be as blockers. Of course, there's going to be times where you catch the ball, but I don't see a lot of design plays for the tight ends.
And Chef, I was part of the Caden Smith. For the last 3 years, I've been saying Caden Smith should be tight end 1 over Evan Ingram. And it's not because Evan Ingram's drops, it's because he doesn't know how to play tight end.
He wasn't a tight end. He was.
I
a
would
wide
like
receiver.
Bellinger to be used more as a safety blanket because that's when Caden Smith was his best with Daniel Jones. Now there was times where they stretched him down the field or put him on corner routes, not because of his speed, but like he knew how to find a hole and Jones would find him, so he used him like that. But that's when Jones started progressing a little bit in his rookie year to go that far back, which was the only time they really used Caden Smith as a real tight end. Is I've noticed something with Daniel Jones. He's best when his check down is in that center area of the field and not the swing pass or the running back. Eli got Saquon 91 catches in 2018. Jones isn't going to be that QB, but that's when he looked his most comfortable is when Caden Smith was like that security blanket in the middle of the field. So, like you said, they have
Caden Smith had great chemistry that first year.
Yeah. So now part of it too is the Ravens are blitzing like crazy, so they're keeping the tight ends in to block on pass protection. But it'll be interesting to see what Bellinger looks like in the preseason when you're not facing Wink Martindale.
For sure. Yeah. But I'm excited about him. I said it today.
I like Bellinger a lot.
You corrected me. I'm like, I think he's going to be the third biggest impact of the rookies. Then you're like, Wando Robinson. But yeah, I think he's going to be a starter, which is a huge impact for a 4th-round rookie.
Right.
So I'm really excited about him. And he's the exact type of tight end that I wanted. I think most Giant fans wanted a block first tight end. But what I like about him even more so after we drafted him, he doesn't necessarily have the statistics in college. I don't think he caught for more than like 300 yards, but I see the potential upside. One, he's got great hands. I don't think he dropped the ball forever in college. But 2, he's pretty athletic. You run a 4.67, so that's pretty fast for a tight end. So
for a guy who plays the tight end the position the way he does, he's athletic enough. Like he's not going to be like some stretch the field vertical.
He's not Evan Ingram, but
he's athletic enough.
He's more athletic than Kevin Boss.
Yeah, he's not like a plodder, Austin Allen, that guy we got as a UDFA out of Nebraska. He was a plodder. Bellinger is an athlete. He's not, he's not like an athletic threat, but he's athletic enough for the tight end spot.
Yeah. And I could see him, I don't think this year, but I could see him developing into a pretty good pass catcher in the NFL. Keyshawn says, sup guys, super big fan. Who you looking forward to watch most in the preseason that's not a projected starter? Well, Bobby's been to every practice. I've been to 2 of them. I'll let you start. Which guy have you been most excited to watch that's not a projected starter for the Giants?
I'm going to say a guy who hasn't made much noise in camp, but I think this guy's a gamer, and when the lights go on, he might play a little better. Micah McFadden. Like, you have heard nothing from Micah McFadden in camp. And a
lot of people felt like he was going to fit this defense to a T when we drafted him.
And Beavers, who was drafted 2 rounds after him, has been getting reps over him on the depth chart. Like when they've been managing Blake Martinez's reps, and Beavers has been the one to go in there. Maybe that's just play style because Beavers is your more standard Mike linebacker than McFadden is. But I think McFadden is one of those guys that when the lights go on and it's not practice, he just makes plays. So I'm him. And then on the flip side, Josh Azudu. I'm excited to see him play.
He took my guy. I'm gonna give you 2 guys though. Azudu for sure, because I want to see if he could. I don't think he's gonna start the year, but I definitely think he's gonna be inserted to the start. I shouldn't say definitely, but I think there's a very good chance he's gonna be inserted into the starting lineup probably by around midseason, if not potentially earlier than that. If he is if they feel like he's ready to step in. So I'm really excited about him. I think he definitely has some upside for sure. So that's a guy that I've been excited to watch for sure. And the other guy got hurt, Dane Belton. I was excited about Belton. I read the profile. His dad's really nice too. He talks to me on Twitter all the time. So I'm kind of rooting for him a little bit because of that too. But I think he fits the scheme so well. When I read his profile after we drafted him, they talked about all the different positions he's capable of playing. And he just seemed like the type of player that I really feel like Wink would gravitate towards. So I would say that, and they're rookies, which makes sense, right? But those 2, I would say Azudu and Belton. But of course, Belton went down with the injury. Were the 2 players the non-starters that I was really looking forward to watching in training camp.
One name for everyone to watch in the preseason, and if your family who aren't diehards who are listening to Giants streams on a Tuesday night, tell them about before the game. Be like, there's this kid Andre Miller out of Maine.
Yeah,
wide receiver convert the tight end. I've been talking about it like crazy. Tell your family members about Andre Miller out of Maine, and they're going to think you're smart if you tell them about that before the preseason game on next Thursday.
You think he's going to blow up in the preseason, huh?
I don't know about that, but I think he's moving into like a role on the team as a guy who played at the University of Maine at wide receiver. He's finding himself a role as a tight end. So
yeah, he was with what? He was with like the second team today. Or yeah, second team, right?
even when they did 2 tight end sets yesterday, they did it with the first team. And what I thought was the most interesting and what kind of made me think, oh wow, they may actually have a role for him. Remember when Jeremiah Hall, the guy out of Oklahoma, it's like he's the H-back. When they signed him as an undrafted free, he's the H-back. Which is like that fullback tight end, hybrid. Andre Miller got those reps before him yesterday when they were emphasis on running the ball. So I thought that was like, oh wow, this guy might actually make the roster. So he's just a guy I'm looking out for. And Chad in the chat says he's absolutely right. Bobby can't stop talking about Andre Miller. I made an Instagram post about him. That's how good.
That's your guy, man. That's your guy. Every year, Giants fans fall in love with one or two guys in training camp. That's the guy. That's the guy right now that you're into. By the way, I dropped the link. Anybody? I got 2 people waiting. I'm going to pull them in about 5 minutes. Anybody else that wants to join, I'll drop it again. There's the link. We're taking a couple of video callers, and Bobby will probably tap out around 10:15, and then I'll hang out with you guys for a bit. But I just want to give a couple of you guys an opportunity to talk to Bobby and myself if you guys want to come on. Let me read this quickly from Bill. Bobby, I know you know your stuff when it comes to the O-line. Bobby knows his stuff when it comes to more than just the O-line, but he's definitely an O-line specialist. Will Saquon have holes? Will DJ have time? I understand it's early, but what's your gut say? I know I'm not the O-line expert. One thing I'll tell you, Bill, and I'm not going to go over the top because it's practice. But in the clips the day before I went, when the New York Giants were focusing strongly on the running game, it looked like Saquon had some holes the size of the Grand Canyon. And there were a couple of pretty big holes today in the running game as well. Now, I don't know if that speaks to our defense or more so our offensive line, but I've been impressed. This is non-padded practices, so let's wait to get super excited. But I've been impressed with some of the holes that they've been creating, at least in training camp so far.
Monday was a padded practice, and they were emphasis on running the ball. And he had holes, and he looked explosive. He wasn't dancing behind the line of scrimmage and stuff. And again, that is an issue of Saquon's. Like, that's Saquon's issue of dancing behind the line of scrimmage. But it got made a lot worse with the offensive line they had in front of him last year, combined with the AC, recovering from the ACL, and then the sprained ankle from the Cowboys game. So I do think they're going to have holes in the run game. The best run game in the NFL? I don't think so, but it's going to look better than years past. And then will Daniel Jones have time? I still think that's undecided. We'll see how Neal looks. He's been a little rocky so far. Glowinski's not the greatest pass blocker. Feliciano, I'm not really high on. And then Lemieux, who I've been very high on Lemieux in training camp, but when the last time he really got to play, he had pass blocking issues. So I'm not going to guarantee you Jones will have time, but Thomas will be good. And we've seen Jones operate the pocket a lot better when his left tackle is good. When the issues show up the most is when the left tackle is bad.
One thing I want to ask you, though, Bobby, is how much do you think the new scheme is going to help mask some of the deficiencies in the offensive line? Because we all know Jason Garrett did them no favors. Having a more complex offense, an offense that I think is going to look to get the ball out quicker, try to create quick separation with some of their route concepts and pre-snap motion, you would think in the pass game that should help the offensive line, being able to get wide receivers open quicker.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of quick game, but they will have times where it's like, hey, we need you to hold on to the ball and push this downfield.
Yeah, of course.
So I think the quick game is going to be more efficient. Where Jason Garrett ran a lot of quick game, but it wasn't more. It was just so based on timing.
5-yard curls.
Yeah, it was based on timing. It was like, hey, where's the inside? Where's the middle linebacker? If he's lined up on the right side, we're going to the left side. We're reading one corner. And whatever that guy does decides where the ball's going, quick stuff. So I think there will be some issues that pop up from this new offense. But I think there's going to be some quick game that's going to lead to some bigger plays where the Jason Garrett quick game didn't lead to big plays.
Yeah. So I that's what I'm hoping, at least. The new offensive philosophy is going to assist the offensive line a bit. Let me read MYB's member chat, and then we're going to bring in a caller. MYB, man, thank you very much, man. I'm going to say it one more time. Super Bowl champs, watch. I hope from your lips to God's ears, man. We're going to pull in the first caller. We'll start with the sports beard. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, entertainer, thank you so much for taking my call, man. And I'll hopefully see you Friday.
Yeah, we're going to see Bobby too, man.
Bobby, thank you, man.
What's going on, man?
Mr. Skinner, sir, question for you. So we actually today we had Nikki Gist on, and we were talking about the Giants D. And she was saying, I hope it's top 10. And we we were talking. This is the Shakedown Sports Podcast, guys. Thank you so much. The Giants should have no problem getting top 15D. We were 23 last year. There were 3 top 15 teams that did not make the playoffs. But I feel like the Giants have strength at the cornerback position, and they're going to be better than a lot of people think in that area. But you guys were talking O-line, and I don't want to go away from that. My boy E, the Chosen One, feels that Shane Lemieux playing center is really good for the Giants O-line because that puts Azudu at guard where they feel like that's the best. How do you guys feel about that?
I love that, man. I've when Feliciano's been out, Jameer Douglas has just looked horrible, and it's made the whole O-line look horrible. Lemieux's looked good, and that's been the one player this offseason where I'm like, don't give up on this guy quite yet. You know, like I know they drafted Azudu, but we talked about it in like a few weeks ago. It's like I could see Lemieux finding a home at center because Azudu is going to play guard. So they brought in Feliciano to be the starting center. Brought him from Buffalo. There's ties there. But I would hope that if Lemieux's just the better option, I hope they wouldn't like let that, you know, preconceived contract stuff stop them from moving in there. But I was excited. Lemieux has looked good. So I want to see him like win at center. And then obviously Azudu's going to start eventually anyway. So
yeah, it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of when.
Yeah, and Feliciano's just a stopgap. So I would love to see Lemieux at center.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. And again, it was a very limited sample size last year, like 20 snaps, but he actually did look good in those limited.
Yeah, like
snaps.
I've hated saying that because if somebody made that defense for someone I didn't like and like, well, in those 15 snaps he looked good, I would like tear my hair out. But he did look good in those snaps. So
it was very limited.
But he did look good in those snaps.
Did look good. To go to the Sports Beard's first point about the defense, it's hard for me to say where I think they're going to rank. Do I think a top 15 defense is possible? Yes, but I don't think it's because we have an incredible defense. I want to go back to what I said earlier. It's because of the horrible offenses we're playing. I could see it's kind of like when Joe Judge's first year, where I think we overhyped the defense going into 2021 because we played such a poor schedule. All the quarterbacks went down that year. We didn't have to face Dak. Washington didn't have good quarterbacks. We didn't have to play Joe Burrow when we played Cincinnati. I could see a similar scenario this year where the defense is at least around league average because of the inferior offenses that we play. But I still think we do have some holes in this defense. I do worry about some of the parts of this defense.
And I'm worried if they have one injury, like it's just going to fall apart. So
we're so we were just talking about the cornerback. Imagine if Blake Martinez goes down. We're thinning a lot of spots on this team, man.
Yeah, so I'm hoping the defense surprises me, but I'm not putting like any big expectations on the defense this year.
Yeah, I actually think the offense might outperform the defense this year. Is that crazy?
No, I think a lot of people expect. Like I kind of expect that. We all have talked about how much, and I know every coordinator sucks when the whatever side of the ball is not doing good. But Jason Garrett was like legitimately the worst. And that wasn't just Giants fans being mad. Like people around the league were like, this guy is the worst. So I don't think we realized how much scheme held them back. And they just were so injured last year. You still have injury-prone guys, but hopefully they're not as injured as last year.
Yeah, I'm just going to answer this question real quick. I'll let you give your answer as well, Sports Beard. Do you think the Brightwell pick was a waste? Andrew, thank you very much. It's funny that you asked this, Andrew. Bobby and me discussed this today at training camp. As we were watching Brightwell, and Bobby, what I told you, and I think you agree with me, it's very hard to destroy a 6th round pick because most 6th round picks, more often than not, don't stick around for more than a couple of years. If we're being honest with ourselves, but the pick never made any sense. They drafted a running back specifically just to help in special teams. Take a flyer there. That's kind of what we said. Take a lineman, take a flyer and a wide receiver, or take a running back with more potential than a guy that is just going to help you pretty much exclusively in special teams. I never root against anybody, but he's a guy that I probably don't want to see make the roster because I'd rather see a running back capable of doing some different things. We're kind of thin in that backfield. So I will say yes. Even though it's hard to say a 6th round pick is a waste, they could have done a lot of different things there. So I will say yes. I think it was a wasted pick. Bobby,
well, if he makes the team, it's not a waste, right?
Yeah.
I would just say this. I feel like if you're talking about low end picks there, does it really matter especially if if an undrafted guy comes in. I keep hearing that one linebacker's name, Beavers, I think, is the guy that was undrafted free agent. I think if you have a guy that makes your roster impactful that you brought in, whether it's a late round pick or an undrafted free agent, who cares? But I hear what I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I shouldn't say it's a waste, but they could have they could have went a lot of different ways with that pick.
Well, I could show you the live shot of the Chosen One's face when we drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, and he might be the best player we got out of that draft. And that's saying something with the top 2 picks, right? So you never know.
Yeah,
I root for all these guys.
Of course, we're all rooting for him.
Yeah.
Bobby, I think we know your thoughts on Brightwell.
He's the best. No, no, I don't think he's going to make the team. Although Antonio Williams left practice today. We and you talked about it, Chris, because we were talking about the waiver wire. I could see them move, like we're 5th in line of the waiver wire. Once 53-man cutdown day comes, I can see the Giants working that for DBs, and I could see running back being that because I love Matt Breida as a backup, but he's not like a power. He's not like a volume carry guy.
He's not like Booker. He's not even like Booker.
They worked out Booker the other day. Like Booker would be fine if you bring.
I would have loved them to bring Booker back.
Yeah. So So I think there should be someone who's like kind of could handle some 15 carries in a game if need be. But I do love Breida. Like his speed is so fun.
Yeah, he definitely brings a different element to the offense. But we'll see. I'm gonna let you go, Sports Spirit. I just want to say thank you so much for popping on, man. And
thank you.
We'll talk soon, man. Be good. All right, let me just answer John, and then we'll get to the next guy. John says, stand up, entertainer. The Giants have better coaching, so that alone should produce more wins. The Eagles will beat the Giants, that's for sure. DJ sucks. He's a big Eagles fan. We better have better coaching. We'll start there. We all hope that we have better coaching. I'll wait to definitively say that until we start to see results on the field. But we'll see. I think the schedule alone should result in more wins. And the fact that, Bobby, there's no way. Well, I shouldn't say there's no way. There's a very low probability we're going to have as many injuries to key positions that we did last year. And I know the Giants have been like the most injured team in football since 2009. But last year it was like another level. Like, I can't imagine us being that banged up. And the other thing that I keep saying, Bobby, unlike last year when Jones went down, when we didn't have a prayer, this year we would. If Jones went down, Tyrod Taylor could step in and beat teams like the Houston Texans. He could beat teams like the Detroit Lions, which is kind of why I have our floor a bit higher than it was last year. A combination of the schedule and the fact that we actually have a decent to good backup quarterback.
Yeah, Taylor, you definitely notice, like, okay, he's not like your normal backup QB. Now, that being said, when Jones did go down last year, I don't think we win any of those games with Taylor, but they don't look nowhere.
Maybe you win the Dolphins game. We played the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, but I also look at, like, Taylor's worst game of the year last year was versus the Dolphins. Like, it was
Bobby, if we're being real, that team at that point was so bad. Like the surrounding roster was so bad. It wasn't just the quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. So but it would have looked unbelievably better. Like, it's crazy to say that, like, I don't know if they'd win a game, but it looked like a totally different team because that's how bad it was last year. So yeah, he's definitely a capable backup. Like, if Daniel Jones goes down, we're not rolling out Jake Fromm.
Yeah. Jake Fromm. Oh my.
Jobless Jake Fromm. We ruined careers. Mike Glennon will never have a job again. Jake Fromm can't even get on a practice squad.
Okay, so Mike Glennon, I want to get your take on this. Mike Glennon, and I can only look at his statistics. I don't watch Mike Glennon. But Mike Glennon, before he became a Giant last year, his statistics suggested he was at least a okay to slightly below average backup quarterback.
He was.
I think that had a lot to do with
he had career worst in every single stat in every category.
I think that had a lot to do with the surrounding talent in terms of the lack of production on the offensive line and the scheme with Jason Garrett.
Backup QBs are a product of their environment.
Yeah.
It's facts. Now we'll get 10 tweets about the exception to the rule. But backup QBs almost are never worth paying a ton of money.
Of course.
Because if you get, unless you're a contending team, if you're a bubble team, it's like, what's the difference?
If you're a contending team with a quarterback on a rookie salary, I agree. If you're paying a quarterback $40 or $50 million, I don't know how you're going to find it in your budget to pay a high-end backup.
Yeah, well,
if you have like Joe Burrow, yeah, it pays to have a high-end backup. I agree with that.
Yeah, we're getting ready to get some, Nick Foles comments and stuff, but those are the exceptions to the rule. I'm a big don't pay backup QBs a ton of money. Yeah. Although if Daniel Jones does get hurt, in the moment it'll feel a lot better to have Tyrod Taylor.
Of course.
But anyways.
But we're still not paying Jones a lot of money either. So we could kind of afford to pay our backup, even though we had no cap space.
Yeah, and most of the money is put into next year anyways, when more likely than not, Jones most probably won't be here. So
we'll see. Abe says, will Roche make the squad and what kind of impact?
I don't know, Abe, but he's looked good, but they just don't. He hasn't been getting first team reps and barely any second team reps. So
he's been with the third team, man.
I've been a little disappointed in the way that Quincy Roche has been on the depth chart. I want to he should make the team. So I'm a little frustrated with the way Quincy Roche has been used.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. He's a guy I was excited about when we picked up last year. I remember we both liked him on Twitter before the Giants drafted him. And when Pittsburgh dropped him, I was ecstatic when the Giants were able to pick him up. And I think he had 2 sacks. And when he got opportunities last year, he looked like he was doing a pretty good job. So I think he'll make the team. But the fact that he's only playing with the third unit at least suggests that it's far from a shoo-in.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree with that. What's going on, Jay Dimes?
Jay Dimes, just going to read this real quick. Jay Dimes, and we're going to bring you on. Mike says, as an old left tackle who's now 68, I love your O-line breakdowns. Chris and the Bad Dog are my Madden and Summerall. Thanks, guys. Mike, man, thank you for being here, and I'm sure Bobby appreciates the kind
Appreciate
words.
you, Mike.
Jay Dimes, what's going on, man?
What is up?
Where's your face, man?
You said what?
Where's your face?
Oh, my face? Oh, I'm in the dark right now. I got my ring light on and nothing like that.
That's all right. What's going on?
But I just had a few questions with the offense. What do you guys think the most improved facet of offense would be this year? Because I think consensus for the defense probably say the edge rush position. So we're looking at offense. What do you think the most improved facet will be?
I'll let you. You want me to start or you, Bobby?
I'll say the position group, the offensive line, when you consider the way it was at the end of the year when guys were hurt. But I'll say overall, I think the way the wide receivers will be used, it will be the biggest improvement. Obviously the wide receiver group is essentially the same with the addition of Wandale, but just the way they are used is going to show the biggest improvement from the offense from last year.
Yeah, for me, if I have to say a position group, I'll get to it in 1 second, but the scheme to me is the biggest difference, obviously, in the offense. That to me is what we hope is going to be the biggest difference. Bringing in Dable, bringing in Kafka, 2 innovative offensive minds. And by no means do I think he's going to have an incredible year. I want to keep saying that, but I do think he's going to have an improved year. I'm going to go Daniel Jones. I'm going to say the quarterback position has the biggest improvement this year. And he may not have a Pro Bowl year, but he could be very improved and be a average starter in the NFL or slightly below average starter in the NFL, at least statistically. And I could see Jones, if he could stay on the field, having a decent year for the Giants this year and being a respectable quarterback. So I'll go with that. But for me, it's the scheme more so than anything else. That to me is the biggest improvement on the offense.
Okay, and I had one other question. And when it all comes down to they have the surprising cuts for each team. At the end of the day, do you guys think Darius Slayton makes this roster?
I think he does, but I will say this, Bobby. I don't know if it's as sure of a thing as I thought day one. And he looked great today, by the way. But Richie James looks great. I'm not saying that's going to prevent Slayton from making the team. David Sills looked really good today. Colin Johnson's looked good throughout camp. So I think there is competition there. But when push comes to shove, I do think he'll make the team. But I don't know if it's 100% lock.
I think he should. But like you said, Richie James is going to make this team because of, one, the return aspect, and then he's looked good at wide receiver. But I do think Slayton is going to make the team. But I'll say this, Chris, we've been at practice. How weird is it for a guy that's been at Darius Slayton's role the last 3 years since, his first game as a rookie as a 5th-round pick, he was in the lineup and playing that game versus Tampa. And he's just now a backup, and not a backup is getting he's not he just only practices with the second team.
He's our 5th wide receiver when Shepard's healthy.
It's crazy to think about. Slayton's the best day 3 pick of Dave Gettleman. Sorry, I'm moving my laptop around. He's the best day 3 pick of Dave Gettleman. He was the Giants' leading receiver for 2 years, and now we're having this conversation. It's kind of been a weird career for Darius Slayton.
Very weird career. And
Yeah.
in the end, Bobby, his profile before the Giants drafted him is what he is. I remember reading it after they drafted him. They said a limited route tree and bad hands, tall and fast. And that's basically what he is. That's what he's been in the NFL. His rookie year didn't have a lot of drops, but since then he's obviously had a lot of problems with that. Not known as the greatest route runner. So
10% drop rate last year. That's insane. That's an insane number that he had last year.
Yeah, that's what he's become. So that's we got what we paid for. 5th round pick. More often than not, they don't work out. It looked like his rookie year that it was going to, and it's just kind of falling apart.
Sills Army. David Sills had a good day in practice today. He just might take the job from him. You never know.
I think he's got an outside chance.
The Army was dead and it's been revived the last week or so.
I think he's got a chance. J-Man, you got anything else?
Oh no, man. I just want to say thanks for answering my call. That's really it.
Yeah, man. Thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let's just get to a couple of these, and we're going to bring Ron on. Anybody else that wants to call in, we'll try to get 1 or 2 more callers. I'm just putting the link in the chat below. If you want to come on, talk to Bobby, myself, please feel free. Link's right there. If you want to come on via video call, just click the link. It's simple. Andrew says, do you guys, by the way, should have said this. If you guys don't know Bobby and Justin, I'm sure you do by now. Talking Giants. Just like the show that Bad Dog and me do. We didn't steal it from them for people that say that we did. But they have a great channel. They got a great podcast. Check him out. Should have given him a plug earlier, but by now you guys should know who he is.
I should tell the story of how we kind of linked up. Is we had been doing Talking Giants for since 2019 or so, but we weren't doing YouTube, and so we made YouTube and we named it Talking Giants like our podcast was. And then I searched Talking Giants, and I'm like, not only is there a guy that has Talking Giants, but this guy is big. So I was like, this guy's probably going to hate us at some point, and we ended up linking up. So. Yeah,
no, it was awesome, man. I remember, I think I first went on your podcast, and then, you came on YouTube on mine. And yeah, man, I'm so glad you guys joined YouTube because you had so much, your film breakdowns are second to none in terms of, at least in the Giants community. I can tell you that. You definitely bring a lot to the table. So
now we're training camp buddies. And I feel like I've done a bad job of promoting this year, but the Fan Fest event Friday, Parking Lot G, 3:00. Myself, Chris, license plate guy, doing a live show. This year we have speakers. Last year that was a big issue. Is you couldn't really hear us. So this year we're going to have speakers for everybody here. So and free food. Just bring your own booze.
We should have a hot dog eating contest, even though I shouldn't partake in it because I'm trying to lose weight. But we should have a hot dog eating contest.
Justin's been eating hot dogs at 9 a.m. every single day at practice.
But he puts ketchup. Okay, Bobby? Are you as bad as Justin when it comes to hot dogs? Tell me you put mustard on your hot dogs.
Honestly, a lot of times I don't put anything on. I'm more of if hot dogs are being served, I'm gonna stop at the market and get turkey kielbasa or turkey sauce. I don't eat pork anymore. One of those, and it's I'd rather have that than a hot dog. But
I can respect that if you just don't like hot dogs.
No, I like hot dogs, but usually I usually don't add anything. I just kind of eat it with a bun.
Yeah, all right, that's better than ketchup in my opinion. Let's get to Andrew real quick. Then we're gonna bring on Ron. Andrew says, "Do you guys remember when some vets the Giants brought in last offseason?"
Someone said I'm raw dog and glizzies. Thank you, Elijah.
Just retired. I feel like that didn't really get talked about. Let me read this again real quick. Do you guys remember when some of the vets the Giants brought in last offseason? Oh, yeah. Some of the offensive linemen that they brought in retired. And at least the rumor was at the time, because they were older, Looney, right? But was one of them
Looney and Zach Fulton.
Yeah,
and then Todd Davis, who was here for 2 days. What is Andrew talking about? You didn't feel like we got talked about. That was a national storyline. Was Joe Judge was murdering old vets to
that was the thing, right? The older players felt like they were getting worn down in training camp, and maybe there was something to that. Yeah, that good point, Andrew. You haven't really heard many of the players complain about so far, at least, Brian Dable's practice methods. We didn't get an opportunity, Bobby, unfortunately, to see Joe Judge's practices because everything was closed the 2 years that he was the head coach, so you can't really compare it.
Yeah, I saw a Flores one at the Senior Bowl, and it was similar to the way Judges were described. And it was actually pretty interesting where they had 2 teams running at the same time instead of all right, now first team, now second team. Get more done, but the players probably don't like that as much.
I will say I haven't seen too many laps. I think I've seen them run once, and it wasn't even a lap. It was a 50-yard dash.
Yeah, they've barely ran at all.
Yeah, and Beat, man, thank you for becoming a member, man. I appreciate it, man. Stand up, new member. Let's bring on Ron. He's been waiting for a bit. I was actually on Ron's channel I think it was last night. I was on Ron's channel. He's got a really cool channel. Pleasure to have you on, man. What's up, man?
Hey, man, nothing much, man. Can't complain. I saw you, usually I jump on just to hear you guys talk. I saw you drop the link in there. I said, hey, why not? It's a pleasure, obviously, to see you once again, Chris. Thank you for doing the show yesterday. It was great. Nice to finally be here in the presence of Bobby Skinner. I watch your breakdowns and analysis of guys and their techniques all the time, so it's really cool to see you in person, technically.
I appreciate that. You probably don't like when I go on Nets rants, but
oh no, you're okay. You're okay. It's fine. I was looking for my Giant hat, couldn't find it anywhere, so I had to throw the Nick one on. But it is what it is.
You can wear a Knicks. You can wear a Knicks hat on my channel whenever you want.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. I wanted to ask you guys. I don't want to make too much of a big deal about it, but I'm still a little bit concerned. I'm hoping for the best. I mean, he's my guy. I can't tell you how many bullets I've taken for Daniel Jones. But my only concern is, one, do you think there's any truth or any smoke to the fire about the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing? Like, that came out of nowhere to me. I don't even know if that's real, if the Giants will actually look into him.
I actually have inside info. Chris, we talked about this today at camp.
Yeah.
So first, one of the reports was Pat Leonard. We talked about that before. That's why you can't put any trust in that. The guy from you remember how there was like a 49ers story about the Jimmy G and the Giants? That guy messaged me today asking if I have heard anything. And I did it with Chris right there. And I just made up a lie. And I just said, yes, they are interested if a 5th round and Jimmy G takes a pay cut to $7 million. That guy said to me, I'm hearing the same thing. So that guy's making stuff up.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a true story, man. Get it right in front of me.
So the Jimmy G stuff, I'm not buying any of it.
Yeah, it just the only way it's not happening, by the way. But the only way it even could happen, they'd have to cut him because the Giants can't afford to bring Jimmy Garoppolo on the team as is. He makes $25 million. We have no cap space whatsoever. It's why the trade rumors never made any sense. If they dropped him, I suppose it's possible, but it's not happening. Here's what I'll say, Bobby and Ron. Since Joe Schoen has taken this job, the one thing I could say, what he has said, they have done. And he has said from day one, Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback. Tyrod Taylor is going to be the backup. That's what it's going to be. We're not picking up Jimmy Garoppolo. It doesn't make any sense. He's 32 years old. He's a stopgap quarterback. It doesn't make any sense. What are you going to bring the guy in for a year and then draft the guy? It doesn't make any sense. It would actually make more sense to me next year if Jones doesn't work out and we're not in a position to draft a quarterback. Then maybe you sign a guy like that for a year or two until you're ready to draft your quarterback. If, say, we're picking 18th or 20th and you don't feel Jones is the guy. But this year makes no sense. So I'm not worried about it.
Daniel Jones couldn't have a bad enough training camp to bring in Jimmy G. And that's why when the stuff came out, I said, listen, if you want to think Tyrod Taylor should be the starter, go for it. I disagree with you, but go for it. But Jimmy G just makes no sense. Like you said, they're trying to rebuild, and Jimmy Garoppolo is just not very good. Like, he went to the Super Bowl. He completed 17 passes going to the Super Bowl. You know, that second round game, he threw the ball 8 times in that entire game. So he's kind of been like a reason why the 49ers haven't won more.
To me, Jimmy Garoppolo is a perfect example why win should not be a quarterback stat. Because
it's like when you look
at his winning percentage, he's like 3rd all time. It's insane.
That's crazy.
He's got like a 70% winning percentage, but it has so much to do with the circumstance rather than. And I'm not trying to destroy Jimmy. He's a guy that has proven when given the tools, when put in the right situation, he could win games. Not every quarterback could do that, but he's not a franchise guy.
Yeah, and you're the Giants with no cap space, and you already have investments in 2 QBs. It's just to me, it's a waste.
Yeah, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I just wanted to get your guys' take on it and see what you thought. The other thing is, say, for example, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think Danny Dimes is going to do really good this year.
Ron, you're breaking up.
I lost him.
I think we lost you, Ron. Oh, he was just going to get into a Daniel Jones take, and that would have been fun. Ron, I'm not going to kick you out of the chat. Oh, you're back now, I think. You there?
Oh, I'm back. There you go. You know, I had to switch locations, man. I think my signal was going out for whatever reason. Anyway. All right. So what I was going to say is I I think Danny's going to be fine. He's going to have some growing pains. He's had growing pains his whole career. It's nothing new, and that's okay. But you haven't given him the best weapons and tools around him to succeed. You know, you're giving him some offensive weapons, but you didn't give him an offensive line. Now you're giving him an offensive line, and hopefully the weapons and the scheme and all that fits perfectly for him, and then he can come into it, with the, hitting the ground running. But if I hope it's a big if it doesn't work out, and he gets this year, and the Giants decide to move on, what are their options? Because they have put a lot of money into some of the players they got. So free agent wise, you can't really go out there and bring in a solid quarterback. You might be able to get somebody in the draft, but I'm not even too sure if there's the guy in the draft that might be there whenever the Giants would draft to begin with to fill that void. So I'm wondering what you guys think if there was any options out there.
Yeah. The other thing I want to add to what you said is he's never really, for more than like 3 or 4 games in his entire career, had a true healthy Saquon Barkley either. And this year, I think he's going to have that too, on top of everything that you said. And I think that should help a bit as well. But at the end of the year, if we're moving on from Daniel Jones, which I unfortunately, Ron, because it sounds like you're more on the camp that you think he's going to be the guy in 2023. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm definitely leaning more towards we will be moving on at the end of this year. That's not to say that Daniel Jones can't surprise me. I do think he's going to have his best year as a pro this year. I just personally don't think it's going to be enough to stay on as the quarterback for the Giants in 2023. But if we do move on, it all depends on circumstance, right? I mean, where are we picking, right? If we are in that no man's land, if we're in, between like 14 and 18, 14 and 20 or something like that, you have a couple of options. Either A, you franchise tag Jones for a year and you make him, build off of that and get better. B, you try to trade up, but that's easier said than done. You know why? Because every team in the league this past draft didn't draft a quarterback. So there's going to be so many teams looking to draft a quarterback next year that are going to be giving offers to try to jump up as well. Some teams have a lot more draft capital than we do. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, for example. They have 2 first-round picks. And there's going to be other teams, if we're in that spot pick between 14 and 18, that are going to have higher picks than we do. So if you can't do that and you're not in love with a quarterback in that 14 to 18 range, the other option is to look for a stopgap veteran, which is why I said next year. I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo specifically, but a guy like that could make more sense next year. If you're moving off of Daniel Jones, you sign a stopgap guy if you don't feel like you could get your quarterback via the draft for a year or two, kind of like what the Panthers did with Teddy Bridgewater, for example. You sign your guy for a year or two until such time, even though they screwed up and then traded for Sam Darnold. But something similar. I think those are your options. Bobby, anything to add?
No, I think the way the Giants approach it will be where they end up with their draft pick, and if there's a QB they like that is within range. Like you said, Chris, I think he's going to have Daniel Jones have the best year of his career. But unless he totally forces their hand to give him, a franchise tag, it should be up to. So if they're picking 17th, and even if they're not in love with Daniel Jones, they want to make the franchise QB, you could probably get him back on a reasonable 1-year deal, more than he would get on the open market. So if there's not a QB you want in the draft, then you can bring him back for 1 year. But if there's Anthony Richardson from Florida and they're at pick 6 or 7 and they like him and they think he's going to be there, then unless Daniel Jones just totally lights it up, you go and get that guy, and you allow this regime to get their own quarterback. The same way that Buffalo got their Josh Allen, and with Brian Dable as the coordinator and Mike Kafka, his team with the Chiefs got their Patrick Mahomes. Let this regime get their guy.
Yeah, so we got a lot of options, man. I want to say thank you so much for calling it. All of a sudden, I got a lot more callers.
Can I say one more thing, Ron? Isn't it weird? As Giants fans, man, we've just always had our QBs for a long time. Phil Simms was a little before my time, but Kerry Collins was here for a little bit, and then we had Eli for 20 years, never even missed a game. And then now, going on year 4.
I'll say this though. Before that, we had a lot of turnover at the quarterback position.
I was younger for that, but it's just like in my lifetime, it's like I've never known QB turnover.
You've never known quarterback help.
Like I have friends who are like, Washington fans. It's like you guys do this every single year.
Yeah.
Every year you have a new week 1 start. I don't know how teams do.
Hey man, Giants said it for years, and they were right, man. As much as Eli Manning made us like punch ourselves in the face sometimes with some of the decisions he made, you're going to regret it when he's gone because you took him for granted.
Yeah.
Not many teams have. Look at the NFL right now. There's at least, 10 to 15 teams probably historically that have never truly had a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Giants fans took that for granted, like knowing that he's going to be the guy lining up every Sunday. It's not easy to find those guys. And it's not easy to set a guy up the way that the New York Giants did when Eli Manning took the reins. He had a really good situation. And the good news is I think the Giants are starting to get back to that.
Yeah.
Right. And I was just going to say, yeah, I agree with you, Bobby. I've been thinking the same thing about the whole franchise. I was just telling Chris yesterday on my show how I'm so used to the Giants being that type of team that has that historical blueprint in which you always know you're going to have consistent winning seasons. Even if you don't make it every year, they're always a pretty good team, and they have that legacy. And then having a quarterback like Eli and other guys that have been around to give the stability has always been a great thing. And now we're a little bit in flux, but I hope they get it together, man.
Yep.
You guys, listen, continue to have a great show. I'm listening. It's fantastic. Great to see you guys together. And Chris, always a pleasure, man. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, man. Anytime you want me to come on, like I said, during next season, would love to have you on for a pregame, postgame, whatever. So thank you so much, man. And it was a pleasure going on your channel yesterday.
Sounds good, man. You guys take care. Have a great one.
Be good, Ron. Bobby, I know I told you an hour. I'll have you on for another 15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to let you go. I don't want to keep you on too long. And then I'll talk to a couple of the other callers. Julian says, is there anything you guys could say about Marcus McKeithen? I know he is raw, but I am intrigued about his size and strength. He looks bigger than Neal.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed much of him from camp, which can be a good thing because it means he's not looking horrible. Yeah. It's hard to see the guards sometimes because it's just from where your view is. It's a little hard to see the interior offensive line unless you're just solely focusing on that one player. So honestly, I don't have much on McKeithen right now. But he, like, for a guy his size, like, he's got quick enough feet. He's not like Josh Azudu, like, foot speed, but he's a big dude. I'm excited to see what he looks like, and maybe not even this preseason, but like next year's preseason.
Yeah, I don't expect him to start this year at all unless we have a ton of injuries. I think he's going to kind of be like the second, the third string interior offensive lineman. I don't expect him to play this year, but maybe he's a project, and maybe he's a guy that could eventually develop into being a starter. Generally speaking, you take a guy in the 5th round, there's a decent chance he won't become a starter. A lot of times when you draft those guys those late, you draft them for depth on the offensive line, which is really important. But he has an opportunity for sure. It's not like we're strong on the interior long term. I mean, who do we really have long term on the interior outside of potentially Azudu? So he's definitely got an opportunity to develop into becoming a starter for this New York Giants football team. But kind of like Bobby said, it's hard to really get much of a grasp on really anybody on the offensive line because we haven't even seen pads outside of one practice.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I wouldn't expect him to start this year. That's for sure. Sir Kanye says, how is Thibodeau look? I'm going to give you the same answer I just gave you. There's only been one padded practice. I will say today, though, there was a couple of plays where he stood out to me. One play in which I think he would have had a sack. It was an all-out blitz, so it wasn't like he destroyed the offensive lineman by himself. Maybe he got pressure due to the fact that they sent like 7 guys, but he definitely got around the tackle today, and I think it would have been a quarterback sack in a game. So I will say that. But again, it's hard to get a grasp of how these guys are really doing until such time you really see them in a true game situation, especially on the lines. Wide receiver is easier to look at in a practice setting.
Yeah, he's had good flashes. Like Andrew Thomas has won the the camp so far versus Thibodeau, but Andrew Thomas should win that.
Of course.
But like you see some good flashes from Thibodeau, and you see, like LJ just said, Tibbs and Thomas are battling. Tibbs, even though he's not necessarily winning them, you can see that Thomas does have his hands full with a guy like Kayvon who can work so outside in, has that strength, or he could bend the corner. It's fun to watch a guy like that. We really haven't seen that in a long time in the Giants uniform.
Let me ask you, Bobby, who does he remind you of? Because I didn't copy anybody on this, but I saw a lot of people bring it up after the fact. His first step reminds me so much of OCU Minora.
I thought that's what you were going to say. Yeah, I don't know if I'm bad.
I'm not saying his complete game, but his burst off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I'm bad at player comps. But yeah, like that first step is beautiful, and it sets it up. It sets up so many different things. So, and it looks like lovechat.xyz best adult dating site agrees.
That guy's always in here. So I guess I got porn addicts in my chat because he keeps coming back. And Mike says, did you guys see zone?
We get those too.
Was that? Oh yeah,
I said we get those too.
It's probably a popular thing on YouTube. They used to drop in the comments of videos. Now they come into streams. Mike says, did you guys see zone blocking in the run game? Yeah, yes. I think yes. There wasn't a lot of running today, though. I'll say that. It was mainly passing. There was a couple of running plays. Wendell Robinson had a run. Barkley had a couple of carries. But for the most part on the 11-on-11s, it was passing. But from the clips that I've seen, more so yesterday when there was more running, I did see some zone run blocking.
Yeah, it's a mix, and that's what Brian Daboll did in Buffalo. Like, depending on what his offensive line was capable of, they mixed it between zone and gap power scheme. So it's actually been both. You know, they ran the ball a lot on Monday, and there were a lot of times where they had guys pulling, but they were running their typical zone stuff. So I think their running game is going to be pretty diverse this year.
We got Michael. I'm just going to read this real quick. I think it's pronounced Michael. I'm just going to read this real quick. Then I'm going to have you ask us a question, buddy. Grim says, have you noticed some of the front office has said regards to this rebuild? Renan and John saying that this regime is anticipating a complete overhaul and are prepared for a rough year.
I mean, yeah, the roster is pretty thin at a lot of spots, you know, and is the draft. I mean, the draft they kind of went position hunting, you know, like you know, they were filling holes. Like, I actually I do a speech every year before the draft on our draft day podcast, and mine was, you know, look at some good draft classes, and it's not them filling holes, it's them looking for the best player available, and sometimes they're picking 2-3 guys at the same position. But it's like, you know what, the odds are one of these guys aren't going to hit, so you just get whichever guy's the best. They did the opposite of that and just went. I mean, they basically like.
They took every position.
Tackle, edge, wide receiver, interior offensive line, corner, safety, tight end, linebacker line. Like, so they basically did go hole hunting, but
they literally took every position outside of like punter and kicker.
Yeah, and going into the draft, it was funny, Chris. I was telling people, like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to fill every position. So there's going to be some position that's a huge position in need. They're not going to come away from the draft, but you can't be mad at them for that. And they literally did that. So it was.
Yeah,
they
literally did the opposite. But yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that. I think the Giants, if they're smart, should be prepared. I mean, you hope for the best. You expect the worst. You go in with reasonable expectations, and reasonable expectations are, Bobby, this is a team last year that won 4 games. It's a team that's been riddled by injuries. It's a team that had no cap space this past offseason, so you didn't bring any high-end impact free agents in to make an immediate impact on this team. Should there be improvements? Absolutely. The offense should look a lot better this year, but I don't think this team is expecting this team to go out there and make the playoffs this year. If they do, great, but they realize it's year one, and unlike Gettleman, when he took the job, there's a clear direction. He's coming in. This is year one of the rebuild. Gettleman tried to do both at the same time. So I think they know that, man. I think that and I don't think it's going to be a complete overhaul. There's going to be some players on this team that they like, that they feel like are going to be in the best long-term interest of this team. Andrew Thomas, Xavier McKinney, players like that were from maybe Kadarius Toney that were from the previous regime. But yeah, you're going to see a ton of player turnover over the next couple of years. That's what happens when we saw it with Gettleman when he took over for Reese. He got rid of everybody. He brought in his guys. I expect it to be very similar with Joe Shane in a couple of years. Expect to see, for the most part, a pretty new roster. It's going to be in transition over the next 2 or 3 years. But Grim, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. RK, we'll get to you in a second. But what's going on, Michael, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy.
Yeah, what's going on, Taina? I just want to say I love both of your videos. I watch all your breakdowns, and
Appreciate
Taina,
it.
you know I'm always on your live streams.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so far in Giants training camp, I have some worries.
All right, let's hear them.
My first worry is Evan Neal.
Okay. Real quick, I'm not worried. And I'm gonna let Bobby speak on this as well, but I am not worried. I remember when we drafted Andrew Thomas, and I expected. I'm not saying the exact similar situation, because Thomas really struggled the first 7 or 8 games as a pro. I don't necessarily think that'll be the case with Neal. He may struggle the first 3, 4, 5 weeks, but I'm not worried. Evan Neal was a blue chip prospect. I still think he's really good. I think it's a scenario of a guy coming from college, learning a new blocking scheme, and he's thinking, which is what you should be doing. Well, you're in practice. You're trying to learn a new blocking technique, probably something he wasn't taught while he was in college, and he's learning on the go in training camp. So I am not worried about Evan Neal. Like I said, rookie, may get off to a bit of a slow start. but I think he's going to be great for the Giants. But Bobby, go ahead.
Well, my question would be, what are you worried about? Are you worried about he's not good right now, or he won't be good the first 5 games,
Nah,
or that year 3 of Evan Neal and we're going to be disappointed?
no. I have high hopes for Evan Neal. That's the reason why I'm worried, because I don't like the fact he's losing every rep to O'Shane.
Yeah.
Every rep, like I've seen, he's lost. Like, and it's bad.
They don't show the majority of majority of reps don't get. I mean, 10% of clips do get shown. And again, like we talked about today, Evan Neal has struggled, but it's just they're doing some different things. He does need to keep his feet moving through the pass set. I've noticed that on a clip I shared yesterday where O'Shane beat him. But
when it comes to run blocking, he beast, absolute beast. The thing I'm worried about is his pass blocking, because when he comes off the ball, he tends to always stand up too high.
He's getting beat off the edge. He's getting beat off the edge.
Yeah, and then he's also slow with his kick step. He's not like Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, when you could tell he comes off the ball, he's tight and low and fast. You get what I'm saying? His drop step is quick. But with Evan Neal, he comes off too high, and O'Shane, and as soon as O'Shane, he's always low. So he uses his speed and just gets past him. That's why I don't like. But I know that's something that's gonna be fixed.
Yeah, it's why. I mean, yes, maybe to start the year, I'm worried, but he's a rookie. It's not about just this year. It's about long term, and I think he'll figure it out. I think he's gonna be just fine. I'm not worried about Evan Neal. Long term, I'm not worried about him.
And I just wanted to point out, some people are not high on the defense, but I'm high on the defense. Don't sleep on the defense this year is gonna be good. Because
what's one aspect that people are sleeping on that you think people shouldn't be?
The cornerbacks. I think the cornerbacks we have are so skilled. Darnay Holmes, Flott. I like what's that? Robinson, Dory Jackson. It's just the problem if one of them gets hurt. But if they could stay healthy, especially with the way Wings defense is, with you got if Azeez Ojulari is available, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence chasing the QB with the blitz. Yeah, I feel like they're gonna be really good.
I hope so. I hope you're right, man. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just think I'm worried about it, but they could be good. They could definitely surprise me. Going into 2020, Patrick Graham's first year here, the defense definitely outperformed what I thought they were going to do. So it could happen for sure. We'll see. But the key to me is the secondary, which you seem to be a lot more confident in them than Bobby and myself are.
Also, I just wanted to, do you guys think with the rise of Wan'Dale and KT that Kenny Golladay is gonna see a much less target share?
No, I don't think his target share could get much less than it was last year. I think he's going to be targeted more effectively downfield. Like, that's something I've noticed with Golladay and camp. Today he didn't practice in team period, but they're pushing the ball downfield, so they're giving him more quality reps. So I think Golladay will feel fine with his target share. But Wan'Dale, like you said, is going to get a lot of targets, and Tony has the ability to be a star. So yeah, I do agree. I don't think he's going to have a ton of targets, but I think it's going to be a little more about quality.
He's going to be used better.
Quality, not quantity, with Kenny Golladay.
And I also think there's going to be more targets in general to go around this year, because I think the Giants are going to throw a lot more than they did the previous couple of years. I think we'll run less than we have the last couple of years. I think we're going to be open more to the pass.
Okay. And also, some people don't know DJ. I like what I've been seeing from DJ this camp.
Yeah.
He's been very accurate, throwing the ball downfield. I haven't been seeing too many slants. I've been seeing a lot of crossing routes, a lot of deep routes, a lot of what you call it? A lot of trick plays and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm excited about the offense. Yeah. So that's all I have to say.
All right, man. What I'll say about what you said about DJ, I say it every year when it comes to training camp, and even when it comes to preseason games. They could throw 10 interceptions. I'm not going to get super low. They could throw 10 touchdowns. I'm not going to get super high. I don't read too much into practices. What I'm looking at when I go to these training camps more so is the schematic changes, how the lines are performing. I'll start to judge Daniel Jones once we see him on the football field day one, week one against the Tennessee Titans.
Right. All right. Thank you guys for having me on.
You got it, buddy, man. Thanks for calling in. Bob, you got time for one more caller? If not, no biggie, man. No biggie.
I'm gonna roll. Julian's staying at the Airbnb and he's trying to sleep, and I'm keeping him up. So
you get some sleep, man. You get some sleep.
What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go put the microphone and camera on him, and you get a sleep cam of Julian. So I got him on a cot in the living room, so I'm keeping him up. So
no worries. I'm happy that you popped on for a bit, Bobby, man. Looking forward to Friday. If you guys didn't hear, Parking Lot G, if you're going to Fan Fest, Bobby and myself are going to be there, along with, of course, Justin, license plate guy, and I'm sure several other content creators. So
free food.
Just bring your beer, your sodas, whatever you want to drink.
Yep. All right, man. It was fun. I'll see you Friday, and hopefully another practice next week, man. Appreciate you.
All right, Bobby. Be good, man.
See ya.
All right. We're going to pop Bobby out. I'm still here. We're going to hang out for a bit, guys. I'm going to talk to the chat and answer a couple of these super chats, and then I'll bring a couple more video callers on. Arc A says, how did Wan'Dale look today, Tana? He looked good. I keep saying it. I think Wan'Dale is going to be used a lot more in this offense than I initially thought when we drafted him. Year one. I liked him when we drafted him. I questioned it a bit in terms of the Kadarius Toney similarities. But when I took a step back, I said, okay, I could kind of see how he would fit in a Kansas City Chiefs-like offense. So he looked good. He's been one of the big standouts so far in camp, along with Kadarius Toney. But yeah, man, they used him in the backfield as well. I got a video clip of that. They used him a direct handoff in the backfield. So, yeah, he's going to bring a lot of versatility to this offense, and I think he fits the scheme really well. But, yeah, he's looked good. Blake, what's going on? He says, if you had to upgrade on a position, which one would it be, and what player or type of player would you like to fill that role? Okay, I'm not even going to say the quarterback because I'm going to based off the Daniel Jones, the quarterback for this year's roster. Of course, if I could have Pat Mahomes, if I could have Josh Allen, I'm taking that upgrade. But that's the easy answer. So outside of the quarterback position, where would I look to have a significant upgrade on this roster? I mean, I think the tackles long-term are definitely in a good spot right now, which I think left tackle is the second most important position on a football team. Edge rusher, I would probably say is the third most, and I think we got two good young players there. If I could have an upgrade, you give me a lockdown corner on this football team. That would be my significant upgrade. An elite corner, you name the guy. The best corner in the NFL, a lockdown corner would be the upgrade. And I think right now, outside of the quarterback potentially next year, I think right now, if you ask me, cornerback would be our biggest need. JC says, how many true franchise quarterbacks are in the league? Who's at the bottom of the list? This way, we could find some common ground on just how good DJ needs to be. Well, I don't know. Everybody's definition of a franchise quarterback is completely different. Like a lot of people would look at Dak Prescott as a franchise quarterback. He got paid a lot of money. For me, the definition of a franchise quarterback, and everybody's definition is completely different. My definition is a guy that could eat up 17 to 20% of your team's salary cap, because that's what it costs when you pay these guys on a second contract and still compete to win Super Bowls. And there's not many quarterbacks that could do that. There's just not. There might be 6, 5, 6, 7. There's not a lot. To me, that is a franchise quarterback. A guy that once he gets paid the big contract, which is inevitable, could still compete to win Super Bowl championships. And right now, if I'm being honest, Dan Jones got a lot to work on. He's a long way away from that, but hopefully this year he takes a big stride towards it. But that, to me, is the definition of a franchise quarterback. I don't necessarily think Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback. A lot of people may disagree with me on that. I have very high standards for franchise quarterbacks, JC. Let's bring in Mets. What's going on, Matt? I see Jay Boogie's in the chat, and I think he dropped me a donation. I'm going to get to you in 1 second, man. Glad that Jay Boogie's going to pop in on that. What's going on, Mets?
Not much other than the guys kicking me out of your Discord over a derby bet.
Uh-oh. What's going on, man? What do you want to talk about?
Well, given how I'm worried about how this Giants season is going to pan out. I mean, yeah, we got the pieces we need in the draft. But again, it's Jones that worries me. I mean, from what you and Bad Dog have said in your respective showings, he's been struggling out of the gate at training camp, right?
I mean, today you look good. I've only been to 2 training camps. Today you look good. But yes, a lot of people have been saying in other practices he struggled. You could put it into context, though, in certain circumstances. But yes, overall, has he lit it up in camp? No, he has not lit it up in camp.
Didn't think that. But we may have the wall that he needs that we lack. Do you happen to realize that since 2016, we have failed to score 30 or more points in a game in at least 3, maybe 4 of the last 6 seasons.
Yeah, our offense has been pathetic. Our offense, and a lot of it falls on Jones, and a lot of it falls on the play caller.
I mean, this is even before Jones. I mean, a lot of it, you could say this falls on McAdoo for clocking up the offense in 16 and 17 with how bad it was. I mean, like I said, 16 to 17, never got a point game over 30 points. Shermer comes in 18, we get at least a few over that. 2019, we get a couple over that. 2020, I think we only had 1, maybe 2 over that point total, and one of them was a loss. And then last year, no game over 30 points that we scored.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. You're preaching to the choir. I think everybody in here realizes specifically the last 2 years under Jason Garrett and Joe Judge, the offense has been pathetic. We've been the worst. We've been the worst offense in the NFL over the last 2 years. The worst when you combine the 2 years. The worst offense in the NFL.
I counted 5, maybe 6.
5, 6 what?
Years. We've been
well, no, I don't think under Shermer we were the worst. We weren't great, but I don't think we were the worst. I think
under McAdoo.
Yeah, the last 2 years specifically, we have been the worst offense in the NFL.
True. And when you look at how long I've been following this team, I mean, I was barely even cognitive when they won the title in 90. I didn't start following the teams till like 95 when I was 8, where the team was pretty bad, was starting to get bad under Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fossil comes along, turns around 1 year, has a couple of bad spots in 98, 99, gets the guarantee that gets them to the title game.
2002, do they go to the playoffs with Shockey? We bring in Coughlin in 04. We win 2 Super Bowls. Go ahead.
Then we kick Coughlin out in 15, bring in McAdoo, get to the playoffs, but a stupid boat trip screws us over.
Right.
17, basically fall to pieces. 18, somewhat right the ship, but Shermer doesn't do much. Then the stupid move by Gelman to get Daniel Jones instead of Josh Allen in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember that reaction you and Bad Dog each did.
Right.
Where you were basically both pulling your hair out.
So what's your overall point? You're worried about Daniel Jones, you're worried about the offense.
Yeah. I mean, and then throwing defensive pieces, you may have a couple of glass cannons.
I mean, I think your worries are warranted. I think it's the quarterback and the cornerback spot. Those are our 2 biggest worries going into the year. And the offensive line still, even though we upgraded in the draft. I still think there's some growing to do there.
You still available next Thursday for the FOD game?
We'll see. I don't want to guarantee it, but if I am, I'll let you know. I'll pop on. Okay. All right, Mets, I'm going to let you go because I got a lot of people I got to get to. But thank you so much for calling.
Night, Chris.
Be good, Mets. All right, let me get Bill, man, thank you very much. He says, can we afford Leo in 2023 if he's not Pro Bowl level? Do you move on? Tough one. It is a tough one because if we do cut him after this year, you save $18 million, which could go a long way towards the cap. I think a lot of it outside of the way that he plays this year is going to come down to the way that Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley play. If they don't play particularly well and you're not going to spend money on them, maybe you stick with Leonard Williams for another year. But if he plays at a near Pro Bowl level, I think he's coming back. It's only a 1-year commitment. And what the Giants may do, being that he's still at least relatively young, if he has a really good year, they could extend him and kind of space out the money that way. So you don't have to commit like $25, $26 million, whatever it is, to next year's cap for Leonard Williams. If you sign him to, say, a 3-year extension, if you feel like he could be a part of the future of this football team. But it's a hard question to answer before such time we see him play. If he doesn't play well this year, he's going to be cut. Save $18 million. That's a lot of money towards the salary cap. So he's definitely got to show out. Of course, has no attachments to Joe Shane. So he's got to produce. He's got to play like he did the year before he signed that mega contract. And hopefully he can with some of the improvements that we've had around this defense, Bill, man. But thank you very much. We're going to bring on Jay Boogie. Jay Boogie's the man, huge Knicks fan, and he's a huge Giants fan as well. What's up, man?
Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's. Shout out to everybody in the chat rocking this big blue. The 3 capital S's also stand for that famous word that you always say, stand up, stand up, stand up. Blessings, health, and safety to you, my brother. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm glad that you got a chance to pop on. I got an opportunity to talk to you in one of the Knicks streams, man. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you, and you're a great guy. You support all the Knicks channels and support my channel as well. So I can't say thank you enough.
That's right, man. That was matter of fact, that was on the man Ron Cleveland show.
That's what it was.
We
Ron
was on that
Cleveland.
together, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. I appreciate you highly, everything that you do, man. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really have a question tonight, you know what I'm saying? Because you provide so many answers, you know what I'm saying? So what I wanted to do is I wish I could give you this, my brother. I wish I could give you this, my brother. But we're from afar, but one day I give you one. But what that's going to represent, my brother, for me to give you your flowers, man. And that's from everybody in the chat, man. You deserve your flowers in so many forms and fashions and ways, and what you do for us, man. How you bring, you know what I'm saying, this big blue thing to us. How you stay dedicated to your craft. How you stay dedicated to your fans, and how you stay dedicated to your team. You know what I'm saying? And it rubs us all in a great positive way, man. And I want to just tell you, man, sincerely, man, me and along with some of the chats that they never told you, man, I highly appreciate everything you're doing, man. All the days when you was working, doing construction, you would pull your car over, you know what I'm saying, stop and, you know, give us something, some breaking news. Or if you ain't got a lunch break, you still would make your own lunch break to go back and give us some breaking news. It's because of people like you, you know what I'm saying, that I believe and I have my faith. See, I'm an all day, every day New York Knicks fan, but when Woj drops the bomb, I don't listen to what Woj say. I wait for the bomb to drop and I listen and wait for Ian Begley. You know what I'm saying? That's who I get my breaking news. So when Adam drops the bomb, I don't wait for Adam to talk about the Giants. I wait for you to come on and give me that breaking news, because that's the New York family that I'm surrounded with and I stay with and I stay loyal to y'all, man. So I just wanted to come up here and give you your flowers and let you know, man, I highly appreciate everything that you do in the field of this NYG. I highly appreciate everything you do in the world of the podcast, and I highly appreciate everything you do for the chats, man. Because when you come on and you say what you want, what you say, we all know that it's thorough. We know it's all real. We know it ain't nothing fake. We know you ain't pulling no coattail. And when it's bad, you give it to us, and that's even realer. You know, somebody that's trying to make up something bad that ain't there, like how some of the media do. So, like I said, I didn't have no questions or anything. I just wanted to come about and rock with you, my brother, and let you know, man, God blessings and health and safety to you and your family. I appreciate everything you're doing. My brother, you deserve flowers for everything you're doing, man. And I wanted to share that with you, man, from my heart to you, man. Salute, salute, salute. It ain't for 3 capital S's. Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Let's go, G-Man. Let's rock, man. Let's rock.
You're the man, dude. Thank you so much, man, for all the kind words, and thank you for all, not just for me, but for everybody, man. I see you all the time supporting all the Knicks podcast.
Yes.
And hopefully the Giants this year give us something to cheer about, man. And hopefully the Knicks give us something to cheer. We need Donovan Mitchell, man. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for continuing to support the channel, Jay Boogie.
No doubt, man. I ain't gonna hold up spaces. I want somebody else to come in, man. You know what I'm saying? But I just needed to make sure you get your flowers, my brother, because you way overdue, man. Appreciate you, man. Love, appreciate, respect you, my brother. Salute, salute, salute.
Be good, man. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Jay Boogie's the man. He always supports everybody in the YouTube community. And Beat, man, thank you very much. Tuto gonna get to you. Then we're gonna bring on our next caller. Tuto says, Chris, please make it an official announcement on your live show. We'll be at the link January 8th, Giants away game. All stinky boys, losers, pull up, show up, or shut the hell up. 220. I'll tell you what right now, Tudo. If that game means something this year, I will be there. I will show up to the link if it means something. Now, that's late in the season, so that has to mean the Giants are having a pretty good year. But if that game means something, I will make the trip to Philadelphia, and I will show up at the link. I said it last year, didn't mean much. This year, hopefully it does. And Jay Boogie was just on via the call, man. Thank you so much, man, for the $20 donation. But more importantly, thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it, man. It means a lot, man. Thank you very much. But let's bring on the next caller. I think Big Dash got a YouTube channel, actually. Gonna bring him on, man. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Loud and clear, man.
Oh man, I'm happy to be here, man. How do you follow Jay Boogie? How do you do
Jay
that?
Boogie, man. Well, listen, I do Knicks content too, and when I first started on YouTube, I actually started doing Knicks content, and that's probably where he initially found me.
Okay.
I was working with nothing but Knicks, but he's a Giants fan too. And yeah, I think that's probably where he discovered me originally, and then I kind of went off on my own and started doing Giants content. So I've been Jay Boogie for a bit, man. He's awesome.
Now that's cool, man. I felt the words that he was saying, and I like the same, feel the same way, about you too, man. Because like I said, when I first started watching YouTube for Giants content, you were one of the first people that I watched too, man. It kind of inspired me, to do what I'm doing now. And like I said, I'm fresh. I'm just getting started. But yeah, I just want to say I appreciate that. I did have some questions for you because a lot of people seem to be panicking about the offensive line and Evan Neal. And I remember people doing the same thing about Andrew Thomas when he struggled his first year. And I'm just telling people just to calm down. Evan Neal will be just fine. Of course, we knew he was going to have issues with the speed rush. That was one of his weaknesses in college, but I think Bobby Johnson is going to take care of him. But I wanted to ask you because, I mean, I had a bunch of questions about Roche getting buried on the depth chart. How did he look today?
He looked
still
good
behind O'Shea?
Like Bobby said, man, he looked good. But the question is, you're not seeing him go up against much competition. He's going up against a third string tackle, but he looked good, man. He's bending the edge, but he's also looked good when given the opportunity against Evan Neal. But again, Evan Neal is going to go kind of like what you were alluding to. He's going to go through a little bit of struggles because he's a rookie. But yeah, Roche's looked impressive to me. But I hope he makes the team. It's kind of worrisome that he's on the third string unit right now.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. I mean, when you put on the tape, you can see that Roche is a player. And for O'Shane Ximines right now, and I'm not trying to just get on O'Shane Ximines, he did the same thing last offseason too. And then you get into the regular games, and he was a healthy scratch a couple of times. But I was like, I'm heavy on Roche. Another question I had, I heard that they said they moved Flott. He had some outside corner reps.
Yeah, he did.
He looked there.
He got some outside corner reps. He looked good. Definitely didn't embarrass himself. That's for sure. Yeah, cool. he got a couple of reps on the outside today. Yep.
Cool. And then I guess because I'm gonna be quick, I don't want to hold up time. You probably got other people.
Yeah, man.
The other thing I want to say is with Dane Belton, out with the shoulder, I think it's only going to be 6 to 8 weeks because I broke my collarbone before too. It took about 6 to 8 weeks. But is Andrew Adams the one getting those snaps now?
Yep. He was they had a couple of 3 safety sets today with the first team, and it was Adams, not Corker, that was getting the reps with the first team unit as the third safety. So yeah, that looks, at least as of now, the route they're going to go. But kind of like you said, now the thing is, I agree with you. I think Belton is going to be ready at least close to the start of the season. May miss a couple of weeks before he's ready to be back inserted onto the 53-man roster. But because he's missed all of camp, or pretty much all of camp by the time he comes back, it may back up his, the time frame that he's going to start to make an impact with this Giants team. Like maybe after the bye is what I'm going to guess is when he will be inserted into the starting lineup, because he's missing all of camp. He's a 4th-round rookie, but he's a guy I'm really excited about, man. I think he fits the defense really well. And when you did see him in camp so far, he's looked really good.
Yeah, and then I guess another last question then. With Ward, Jihad Ward. Did they have him with his hand in the dirt finally? Because
to be honest with you, I didn't get a good look at Jihad Ward today. I didn't get a great look at Jihad Ward today.
Because I'm all about the linebackers, man. Because it's not Giants football without linebackers, and I think we got some finally this year. And I guess Beavers and McFadden, and I'll leave it at that. I promise. That'll be my last question.
Beavers look good today, man. Now, he had one of the highlight plays of the day. And I was blown away, and Bobby and Justin were as well when the play happened. He's not known as like the most athletic guy, right? When you watch the tape in college, he's kind of like this throwback, big body. You think of like a Zach Thomas type linebacker. He dropped back in coverage against Alex Bachman on like a 40-yard throw, and he was with him step for step. So I was like, wow, man. He definitely showed something in coverage that I did not expect today for sure from Darian Beavers. And it seems like so far, out of the 2 rookie linebackers that we drafted, he's the one that's closer to getting some reps with the starting unit.
Oh, I love to hear that. Yeah, I love to hear that. And again, I just want to thank you guys, man. All the Giants content creators, you guys being able to be at the practices, and you shared your clips, on Twitter and social media, things like that. So for a guy like me, I'm all the way in California right now.
Oh,
so
wow.
I can't make it to those practices. I'm originally from Jersey.
Man. Let me ask you. Oh, you're originally from Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, I'm originally from Jersey.
I was going to be like, how did you become a Giant fan? Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I had no choice. I was alive for all 4 Super Bowls, showing my age a little bit. But, my first memory was that second Super Bowl. I was 6, 7 years old for that second Super Bowl.
Age. I was born in 85. We're around the same age.
I'm 83. Yeah. So, I had no choice, man. The household was the Giants. It's North Jersey. I had one of my best friends was a Buffalo Bills fan. We used to give each other crap all the time. But yeah, man, that's how I got started as a Giants fan. But no, I appreciate what you guys do, though, man, for real. And keep on pushing, man.
Man, I appreciate it.
You inspired me to do what I do, man. I
And
appreciate that.
definitely this year. I've noticed you, man, on Twitter. I see that you're starting to get active, and I haven't gotten a chance quite yet to check out your channel, but I'll definitely have you on the channel at some point this year. Try to give you
I
some
appreciate
exposure.
that. I appreciate. I'm trying, man.
Yeah, man. The most
I'm
important, just have fun, man. That's what it's all about. Just have fun.
absolutely. Like I said, I do a lot of this content for myself, so it seems natural.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm having fun doing it, but I appreciate that. And then also shout out to Tuto in the chat. He's the best, man. He's the best. But thank you, man. Have a good night.
You got it, Big Dash. Be good, man.
Later.
All right, that's Big Dash. Greg, man, let me just pull him out. We got one more call. We're going to bring on Tristan, then I'll talk to the chat for a little bit. We'll wrap this up probably around 11:15. Greg, man, thank you very much, man. Talking Giants first the world. And Tana, you love to see it. First on the channel, and now here we are spoiled, folks. Greg, man, thank you very much. I'm sorry that Bobby already left, but I'm sure he felt the love from a lot of people in the chat tonight, man. But Greg, thank you very much, and yeah, man, looking forward. I'm going to be on Bobby's channel on Friday again. We're going to be doing the tailgate from the parking lot on FanFest. So if you don't, I don't know if it'll be live. I think it was pre-recorded last year, so I don't know if it'll be live, but you'll definitely get to see that on their channel if you're not at the tailgate. Hopefully, a lot of you guys make it out, man. We're going to be in parking lot G. Pinworm, man, thank you so much for the super sticker. We're going to bring on Tristan real quick.
Hey, how's it going?
Is that a Thibodeau jersey?
It is a Thibodeau jersey. I love your jersey, man.
Let's do it, man. What's going on, buddy?
All right. So I had a question about Thibodeau. I feel like a lot of people are scared to get excited about him. So draft night, of course, I was hyped. I never thought we'd get him.
Right.
They were predicting him to go 1 or 2. I think people are scared to get excited because we've been so hurt. We have been so injured. It pisses me off every single year how injured we get. And people are just so scared to get excited about Thibodeau and this defense. Like, we saw what happened with the Cowboys last year. We saw Micah Parsons only had 13 sacks. I mean, 13 sacks is a lot. But he only had 13, and we saw their entire defense get shifted. We saw a defense that shouldn't have been good. We went into the year thinking they weren't going to be good at all. And he got 13 sacks, and they had some great corner play by Diggs, but we saw what a pass rusher can do.
It's funny that you bring this up because I forgot. It might have been the channel I was on last night. I brought up the same exact point. Not to say that I expect this to match what the Cowboys defense did last year because it was an unbelievable transition, but you're absolutely right. The year before, you think back, especially over the first 8 to 10 games of that season, they were on a record-setting pace to have the worst defense in football. They make a huge change in terms of the defensive coordinator. That had a lot to do with it. But, of course, we changed RTC as well. And, of course, the addition of Parsons. But not to say that he's going to have a Parsons impact. And I hope long-term, I hope he does. Long-term, I hope he's better than Parsons. But to expect him to have that impact year one, that's asking a lot. Parsons had one of the greatest rookie years ever for a defensive player.
Exactly.
But, you look at that defense. And, they definitely had some young pieces. But they got an aggressive defensive coordinator, and it made a world of difference. And they got burnt a lot last year, the Cowboys, but they created so many turnovers that it made up for a lot of the holes on their defense. And I think that's what the Giants are going to be banking on with their aggressive approach this year. They know they have some deficiencies on that defense, but by turning up the heat, drawing up blitzes, they hope to create confusion on the other side and create some turnovers and try to capitalize on it, much like the Cowboys did. So I actually think that's a good comparison. Not to say we're going to be able to match what they did, but we could surprise, at least in a similar fashion, if our edge rushers are able to get home, pretty regularly.
And it kind of frustrates me because there's a lot of people that are scared to even say that he'll get 7 or 8 sacks, and I just find that absolutely insane because he's
completely reasonable.
Yeah,
I agree.
But I'm expecting double digits. I hope to see double digits. I think him and Ojulari are going to be absolute dogs, but I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm really excited about this defense. I think they're going to be a lot better than people are expecting. I think that pass rush is going to cover a lot of our shortcomings. It's going to kind of cover that up a little bit.
Yeah, I think Kayvon Thibodeau, if I had to guess, probably is the most well-received draft pick the Giants have had in terms of a first-round draft pick. I don't know, man. Probably in the last 10 years because it was a draft pick that you really with Barkley. It was split. A lot of fans wanted him to turn it down. They didn't love it taking a running back second overall, or half the fan base absolutely loved it. With Jones, obviously, we knew we weren't super in love with that pick. Thibodeau was Andrew Thomas. I think the majority of people love, but there were definitely some fans that wanted Thibodeau. To me was a pick that it's hard to find a Giant fan that didn't
Oh,
love that.
I did a lap around my basement. I was super super
We've
excited
been
about
so
that one.
starved, man. The last time we took a first-round edge rusher was JPP.
That's insane.
And we haven't had an alpha at that position since. So, yeah, man, I think it's a pick that a lot of Giants fans are super excited about. And if he could back it up, man, with his play on the field, he is going to be a media darling because he's got the personality for New York. New York's going to fall in love with him.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
But he's got to produce, and I think he will. But he's a rookie, so he may get off to a bit of a slow start. But I think I like you. I think he's going to have a pretty productive rookie year.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the year to get going. We've been so starved. I can only watch so many. We had 4 wins last year, and I feel like I've watched the replays of it over and over and over.
Oh, why do you torture yourself, man? Go back and watch like the 2007 Giants. Feel better about yourself.
Yeah, I was 6 years old, so it was a while ago.
Maybe 2016 then. I was more fun.
Oh man, oh no.
But there's going to be a completely
about
different
that.
team this year than last year. I'll say that. It's not. I'll say that. I think there's going to be a completely different team this year. We may not have a ton of wins, but I think it's going to be a lot more excitement on both sides of the ball. And I'm hoping and think at the end of the year we will have more hope as a fan base going forward.
Mm-hmm.
What's your prediction? How many wins do you think we're going to get this year?
I'm hoping for 10. I want to get 10. We haven't had 10 in so long, but
I hope you're right.
Probably about 8 or so. I'm hoping
the fan in me is with you. I'm like, if we could get a couple of bounces, because football's a crazy sport, man. You look at the Eagles last year, nobody thought they were going to win more than 4 or 5 games. They played a soft schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed healthy. They won 9 games. Football's a game of inches. You get a couple of bounces. That the difference between 6 and 10 wins is a couple of inches, and the Giants are due for luck. Maybe this year we'll get it.
I hope so. I really hope so. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
You got it, man. Thank you so much for calling in.
You take care.
Be good, buddy. And Pinware, man, thank you very much. Says, sorry, man. I don't know what you're sorry about, but thank you so much, man, for the $2 donation. I appreciate it. Chris P says, if Jones, Taylor, and Webb all go down this season-ending injuries and they cut them, I can see the Giants picking up. I mean, what's the chances of that? So you're saying if the Giants lose all 3 quarterbacks to injuries, I mean, at that point, the season's over because that would mean that you played all of them. And if you get to a game where you're playing your 3rd-string quarterback, the season's probably already over. So my guess would be at that point, you're probably picking up another journeyman. Because at that point, why even waste bringing in a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to be a Giant. I know a lot of Giants fans seem to want that to be a possibility. I don't see it. I think it's been a lot of clickbait for people that have brought that up as even a remote possibility. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't see it. Trent says, sack prediction for Big Tibbs this season. I think I just said on the last caller, right around 7 or 8. I'll go with a combined between 15 and 17 sacks between Aziz and Kayvon. That's kind of my expectations going into the year. And I think, I'm going to predict about the same for each, 7 or 8 sacks each, somewhere in there. I'm not going to set the expectations sky high, but I'm also going to set it a little bit higher than, I guess, being ultra conservative and only expecting 4 or 5 sacks. I'm going to go with about 7 or 8 sacks this year for Kayvon. And especially with the defense that we play in, it's going to be really aggressive. We're going to be blitzing a lot. We're going up against some younger quarterbacks who may not necessarily be great at reading defenses. Hopefully, Thibodeau could take advantage of that. So I think he's going to get opportunities for sure. And I'll go with about 7 or 8. I think he's going to have a really good rookie year for the Giants. But thank you, man. I appreciate it, buddy. And we're going to talk to the chat for a bit more, man. Again, I appreciate everybody for being here. I hope you guys are as excited for the upcoming season as I am. I'm having a lot of fun tonight. Irish Rover says, Tim, really like your training camp breakdowns. I think you were talking. You meant Bobby. I think you meant. Do you see Lemieux getting some snaps at center during preseason games? I will. And he says, tell Justin to show a little more excitement when talking about the burgers. Sorry, man. Bobby had to leave, man. He was only here for. He could only stay on for an hour. He actually stayed on about 15 minutes later than he said he was gonna. But I will try to remember to tell him that to Justin. I'll give you my answer as far as Lemieux and the center. I think it's very possible he may get some reps in the preseason games in the center spot. I see no reason why he wouldn't. Even if they plan to start him at the guard at the start of the year, we saw what the offensive line looks like when Feliciano goes down at the center spot, and maybe he'll compete to start at the center spot. Who knows? But yes, I'm surprised if he doesn't, but I could definitely see him getting some reps in the preseason game at the center spot for sure, along with potentially Bredesen, who got some first-team reps at the center spot today as well. You want to see what those second unit guys could do. And we're obviously thin at that center position with Nick Gates out as well. So yes, I could definitely see him getting some reps in the preseason games at that spot. Horny Dana says, whoa, Dana, do you Botox? Because if so, it's working. What? No, I don't Botox. What are you talking about, man? The Big W. He says, how would you feel about bringing in Love from the Packers if Jones doesn't work out? See if the Packers would accept a fourth for him. I mean, it's outside the box thinking. I think this is his last year of rookie eligibility, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe it's his second to last year. When was Jordan Love drafted? I think maybe somebody in the chat could let me know. Jordan Love was drafted, I think, the year after Daniel Jones. So if that's the case, I think he has one more year of rookie eligibility. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but I doubt it. If Daniel Jones does not work out, more than likely, I think we're going to be picking high enough to either attempt to trade up for a quarterback or just draft a quarterback where we're picking if Daniel Jones really struggles this year. So, I mean, anything's possible, but I doubt it. So he's drafted in 2020. Yeah, so he's still got another year of rookie eligibility, and then the 5th-year option, which I suppose the New York Giants, if they were to trade for him, could extend him on the 5th-year option. But I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't think that will come to fruition. But I wouldn't be shocked if he gets traded. Aaron Rodgers, they made a longer commitment to him. I think the Packers have kind of admitted their mistake that they kind of, gave up on Aaron Rodgers probably quicker than they should have. So I would not be shocked at all if he's traded next offseason for sure, if a team sees some potential in him. I suppose it's a moderate possibility if Jones doesn't work out and we're not in a spot to draft a quarterback. Good outside the box thinking, but I would lean probably not. Chris L, man, thank you very much, man. Popping, he says, missed you, man. Missed all you guys, man. Just took a break during the dead time of the offseason, and I'm glad to be back. I'll be talking New York Giants football a ton as the season gets underway. And Met 2128's mom, son, your meatloaf is Oh, there's a little troll for Mets, man. I'm happy that Mets got to come on and talk, though, man. He's been a long time subscriber of mine. But thank you for popping in, man. And Boogie, man, I see somebody shouting out Boogie in the chat, man. It was a pleasure to get to talk to him as well. I think it's the first time I've gotten an opportunity to talk to him on my channel. Just want to make sure I'm caught up with everything, and then we'll talk to the chat a little bit more. NY Giants 26. Forget to ask you, do you like the? Yeah, man, I love it. I'm gonna show it, man, but I'm gonna wait till the like I did last year, man. The night before the first preseason game, first regular season game rather. I typically, I'm gonna make that a thing. I did it last year. I'm gonna try to have a couple of YouTubers on as well, where we kind of do a hype up stream. So I'll definitely show that before the stream starts, like I did last year. Blake says, is it safe to say Jimenez is a non-factor now? I don't know if it's safe to say that quite yet. When you say non-factor, I'm assuming you mean he's not going to make the team. Jimenez, as much as some Giants fans may hate to admit it, and I don't believe in it because we've seen him look good in practice before, has looked good. He's looked good in training camp. So I think he's at least giving himself an opportunity to make this roster. I don't know if he will. I would personally probably prefer Roche. I think Ellerson Smith's a shoo-in. But no, I think he's got a chance to make this team. And if he makes the team, I suppose he could be a factor. Before preseason, before training camp started, I was definitely leaning that he wouldn't make the team. I think he's got a shot, depending on how he plays in the preseason games, because so far he's looked good in training camp. He's definitely exposed Evan Neal a bunch of times off the outside. So we'll see. But regardless of how good he looks in training camp, I've learned my lesson with O'Shea and Jimenez. He's got to prove it to me on the field before I believe in him. But I think he's got, let's put it this way. I feel like he's got more of a shot to make this team than I did 2 weeks ago. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I'm personally rooting for Roche, but I'm a little bit biased. I like Roche coming out of college, and I liked what he did last year when given the opportunity. But, it's up to the coaching staff, man. Whoever performs better in camp is going to get the job. Let's see what we got. Big Dash, man. Got an opportunity to talk to you tonight, man. It was a lot of fun. He says, great show tonight. Shout out to you and Bobby for sharing your time. And people, support your fellow. I appreciate it, Big Dash, man. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you and looking forward to getting you on the channel in the future. Nick says, when's the Pat Leonard collab? No thanks. No thanks. See Authentic popped in the chat, man. Glad to see you, man. But nah, man. I would probably have any other beat reporter on this channel outside of Pat Leonard. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he is negative at times with the New York Giants. Jordan Renan is negative plenty of times. There's a difference between being, I don't even want to use the word negative. There's a difference between presenting what you feel are the realistic details and being a shit starter. to me, and everybody is open to their perception about Pat Leonard and any other writer for the New York Giants. To me, he's a shit starter. Half the time, I don't believe he thinks half the things he says. He does it for clicks. He does it for attention on his articles. I'm not a fan of Pat Leonard. I've never been shy to say that on my channel. I respect him. He's a writer, but I don't want him on my channel. What's going on there? Afghanistan, man, thanks for popping in, man. Let's see. Chris, sorry I missed you today, but did you see Eli on the sidelines? I did. He did the breakdown at the end. He went into the huddle and he broke it down after practice, which was really cool to see. The funny thing about Eli, when I saw him there today, I saw him from afar originally, and Bobby Justin actually pointed out at first. They're like, "Is that Eli?" And luckily, there was a guy sitting right next to us that had like a high-powered camera, so he was able to zoom in, and it was Eli. But from afar, I was like, "There's no way that's Eli." It looked like he had a bit of a dad bod, which I guess doesn't surprise me. He's been away from the game for a couple of years, but he looked shorter than I thought he would from afar. So because he was standing next to another guy, but the guy that he was standing next to must have been like 6'7", 6'8", because he towered over Eli, and Eli is 6'5", and they were so far away. It was kind of hard to see how tall these guys were. But I didn't realize it was him at first. But yeah, I saw Eli today for sure, and he broke it down at the end of the practice. First preseason game in 2 days. Yeah, first Giants preseason game is the 11th, but the first preseason game is in a couple of days. Yep. Pat Leonard is on Howie Rose. I'm not. Listen, Mets blew it at the trade. Yeah, Mage. We'll see, man. But I didn't love what the Mets did. But I still think we got a really good team. But we needed to add a lefty reliever. Didn't like what we did today. Don't get me wrong. I think the pieces that we added definitely helped the team. But we needed a lefty reliever, man, and we didn't do it. That was our biggest need, especially after, obviously, the Padres went out and got 2 big lefty bats. You figure there's a good chance we're going to play them in the playoffs. We struggled with them already. Now you add Soto and obviously Bell, and the Mets don't really have much of a lefty reliever. So I was disappointed not coming up with a lefty for sure, man. I thought that was something we needed desperately. Let's see what we got here. Stand up, Chris. How did Bellinger look today? I mean, he looked good blocking. He wasn't really used in the passing game, and he ran with the first-team offense. But there was a couple of times, and I think on one of the clips that I showed where the defense came with an all-out blitz that I thought he did a really good job picking up the blitz. He looks like a good blocker. Wasn't really used in the passing game, but I think his strength, at least this year, is going to be mainly as a blocker more so than a pass catcher anyway. Let's see. Looking forward to FanFest. Really want to see, dude. Yeah, man. I can't wait, man. I can't wait for FanFest. Andrew Smith says, when I played for the New York Giants, you played for the New York Giants. That's cool. Eli Manning was a bad guy. He slapped me in front. Oh, okay, so you're kidding. I hope you're kidding. I don't think he slapped you in front of your family. I think that probably would have been a story. I hope Quincy Roche makes the team. Christopher C says, if you had to choose, what home games would you go to? Well, I'm going to the Bears game. Bad Dog said that was the game he probably is going to be able to go to, and it makes sense. It's early in the year. The weather should be favorable, and it's a day game. Originally, I wanted to go to the Cowboys game, but then I thought about it, and Monday night, probably not the best circumstance to tailgate. A lot of people aren't going to be able to go to that game due to work the next day. So I think the Sunday day game makes a lot more sense. But in terms of the game I'm most hyped for at home, at least early in the season, it's probably the Cowboys Monday night game. But I'm going to be going to the Bears game, and I'm looking forward to it. Anthony Richardson is the highest upside quarterback in next year's draft. I like Anthony Richardson. I need to see him produce results because he hasn't really gotten much of an opportunity at Florida before I start to say that. And again, let's see how Daniel Jones does this year. But if we're moving on from Jones, I have to see him have a good year in college this year. But in terms of the measurables, in terms of his tools, I like Anthony Richardson. He's tall. He's 240 pounds. He's got a big arm. He's mobile. But let's see him put it together, right? He hasn't really done much at the collegiate level yet. If he has a good year in college this year, for sure, he's going to move up draft boards. What's up, Mage? Which player surprised you most in camp so far? Oh, man. Surprised me. I don't know if it's a surprise so much in terms of like how he's produced, because I thought he'd be a pretty good player when we drafted him, but the expected usage that I had of Wan'Dale Robinson before training camp today has gone way up. I think he's going to be used a lot more than I initially thought his rookie year right out of the gate for the New York Giants. I think he's going to be a big part of this offense. So I'll say him just in terms of usage rate. But a lot of that may have to do with the fact that Sterling Shepard's been down with an injury. But I have big hopes for Wan'Dale Robinson this year. Not to say that he's going to catch for 1,000 yards, but I think he is going to be a big part of this offense. And when the Giants drafted him and said that they had a clear plan for him, I think it's clearly evident that they did. And I'm really excited to see how they use him in this offense. He's a guy that you can move all around the field. So I'll go with him. More so in terms of how much I think he's going to be a part of this offense to start the year right out of the gate. I'll go with him. Let's see what we got. Julian. Thank you, man. He says, why is Jihad Ward listed as an outside linebacker? He's more of a lineman 3-tech. Yeah, you know what? You can't go by the depth chart. I've seen, I think I saw on one of the depth charts, it might have been ESPN, where they had Thibodeau as a defensive lineman. He's going to play on the outside linebacker. So you can't really go too much by that. But I agree with you. He's more of a 3-tech lineman than a stand-up outside linebacker. He says, I think he subs out with Dexter Lawrence in pass rush situations, KT Aziz, Smith Roche as outside linebacker, with the possibility of Zimenez if he makes the team. But yes, I agree. I don't think he's going to be a stand-up outside linebacker. But you can't go too much by the depth charts. A lot of times they're wrong when it comes to, the positions. Bring back Gallman. I mean, a lot of Giants fans were clamoring for that last year. The thing I'll say about Gallman, and he played really well for the Giants, and I thought he got shafted last year. I thought he should have gotten more of an opportunity based off the year he had with the Giants. There's got to be a reason teams are not giving this guy an opportunity. But I'd be open to it for sure, man. For sure. He ran really hard for the Giants in 2020. He did a damn good job for this football team. I'd be open to it. But what I will say is there's got to be a reason he's not latching on anywhere. But I listen, he did a great job for us in 2020. I'd be open to it. How was DJ today? I think DJ was good. Are there things you could say? Yeah, he threw 2 picks. One was the second throw in the practice, and I don't get the opportunity to really see game film because I'm at the practice. It looked more so on the first interception that it was a really good play by Adoree Jackson. Not to say that Daniel Jones should have thrown the pick, but Adoree Jackson did a great job jumping the route, and he kind of caught it like a wide receiver, away from his body. It was a really nice play. The second interception I'm putting on Jones. The second interception was really bad. It was on the 5-yard line. He double pumped. He threw it behind the wide receiver, and those are the types of things we can't afford this year. But other than that, he looked great today. He had great zip on his throws, great anticipation, and the one thing that popped off the page to me, more so than the things I've heard over the more recent practices, the last 2 or 3 or 4 practices, he was getting the ball out quick for the most part. He was getting the ball out quick, which is good. Yeah, that I want to see him get the ball out quick this year. Don't think, react, especially in an offense like this. Get it to your playmakers quick in open space. But overall, I thought Jones looked really good today. I would say, without being able to tell you definitively, because I haven't gone to every practice, but based off the things you've read and the highlights you've seen, I would say today was probably Daniel Jones's best practice. He looked good today to me. He looked good. Let's see. Blake Dwyer, he says, most Mets stat of all time since 2018, DeGrom has 92 starts, a 1.92 ERA. If you bet $100 against the Mets in his starts, you'd be up. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, he won the Cy Young when he went, I think he was like 500 or a game under or game over 500 the year that he won the Cy Young because he wasn't getting any run support. Airborne's just trolling. Jones is not getting suspended. What's going on, Junior Man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. How do I feel about looking into J.C. Treader? I don't think we're going to. Maybe we'll add an interior offensive lineman once, during cut down days. But I think they would have brought J.C. Treader in already if they were going to. But I could definitely see us bringing another lineman as training camp gets underway. But the 2 positions that I'm pretty sure we're going to sign at some point that are going to more than likely be cut by other teams during the process, I think we're going to sign a veteran corner. Not one that's going to start, but a guy that brings a veteran presence that they feel could fit this scheme relatively well. I think we'll sign a veteran corner. I think there's a decent possibility we could sign a tight end. They don't seem to be really high on Ricky Seals-Jones. He's not getting a ton of reps So I could definitely see them signing a tight end if they feel they need to add some talent, at least in terms of depth on the roster. Yeah, maybe a linebacker, maybe. But definitely a cornerback for sure. I got my eyes on. I think they'll be signing a cornerback at some point. And a safety is a strong possibility too. I know we already signed one, but now with Dane Belton going down with the collarbone injury, I could see us signing a safety before the year starts for sure. Let's see. Did Kayvon make any elite? I mean, he had a sack today. I'll say that, Andrew. He had a sack today, or would have been a sack in a real game. It was hard for me to really tell if it was because of an all-out blitz and he got the sack because of that, or if he beat his man. He was on the far side, but he definitely he would have hit the quarterback today. Of course, you hold up because he's got the red jersey on, but he would have sacked Daniel Jones today on one play. So I'll say that. I would love to sign a center. Tyrod is the same height as Kevin Hart. He's not that short. I mean, he's definitely shorter than Jones. You can tell that from being there. What is he? Maybe 6'1"? Let me see. He's not that short. He's 6'1". Yeah, which is a little shorter traditionally than you want from your quarterback. But I mean, Kyler Murray is like 5'6". No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm overstating how short he is. But, yeah, he's definitely shorter than Jones. Blake, man, thank you very much, man. Jimmy Smith is out here, as is Chris Harris for cornerback. I think I don't know which one they're going to sign, Blake, but I do think we'll sign a veteran cornerback at some point, whether it be somebody that's currently a free agent or whether it be somebody that gets cut from another roster. I definitely think that'll be. I shouldn't say definitely, but I'm leaning that will happen. Chris, what position is your big? It's cornerback, Cannoli boy. It's cornerback. Definitely cornerback going into the year. Yeah, that's definitely my biggest concern going into the year. Keep sleeping on Nick Gates. I hope so, Nick. I mean, I think all Giants fans are rooting for Nick Gates. He's a fan favorite. He's a guy that worked his ass off to get back into the shape that he's in. I think all Giants fans are rooting for Nick Gates. So I hope so. I'm not banking on it, at least to start the year. I mean, he's coming off a big time injury. But the Giants have not shied away from saying that he may be able to play in preseason games. We'll see. Hopefully works his ass off, makes the team, and makes an impact on the team this year. I think we all love Nick Gates. Chris, what are early indicators to you that the coaching staff is doing good? It's hard for me to judge the coaching staff until such time. It's hard for me to judge the coaching staff after 1 year, to be honest with you. I think it's going to take a couple of years to really get a full grasp of this coaching staff. So I'm not going to read too much into it. I'm not going to read too much into the preseason hype like we all did, myself included, with Joe Judge. I'm not going to get overly excited. I'm also not going to get overly pessimistic if things don't go great this year in Brian Dable's first year. After all, for Shane and Dable, there's a lot of players on this team that they had nothing to do with. So I'm going to give them a couple of years to build this team the way that they see fit. So yeah, I'll say that, man. It's in terms of analyzing him as a coach, you're not going to really get a good feel of that until such time the regular season gets underway. You see how he handles in-game situations, his timeout usage, what he does in certain situations. Is he aggressive? I think a lot of us as Giants fans want to see a more aggressive offense this year, not just in terms of the play calling, but in terms of situational decision-making. You think back to last year, there were so many times where Joe Judge had the opportunity to go for it on like 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 at the opponent's 40, and we punted. In today's NFL, you're not getting away with that unless you have an all-world defense, something that we didn't have. So things like that. And I expect that Brian Dable will be a lot more aggressive in situations like that, but we'll see. But it's hard in terms of judging him as a coach before the season gets underway, especially because I have nothing to compare it to. We couldn't even go to Joe Judge's practices. We saw clips, but you have nothing to compare it to. Blake, man, thank you very much, man. Watch Aaron Robinson go bananas this year after getting cooked in training camp. Listen, I hope so, man. I think he's one of the keys of this team. I keep saying it. And Bobby agrees. I think a lot of Giants fans agree. I think he's one of the most 5 important players or X factors of whether or not this team is going to surprise this year. I think he needs, I'm not saying he's got to be great, but he's got to be okay. He's got to be adequate. And I hope so, man. I hope he's a suitable cornerback too, because the New York Giants are going to need it, man. They're going to need it. You think so, Papatena, man? I hope so, man. Dable didn't look thin out there. He was sweating profusely. Well, he's not thin. So I don't really care. You know, Andy Reid's one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's not particularly thin. The nickname of the greatest coach in New York Giants history was the Big Tuna. He wasn't very thin. So I don't care. You could be 400 pounds if you could help my team win football games. Let's see. Why did Shane keep Golladay? He's got no choice. Kenny Galladay's contract, you would have had to pay more to cut him than to keep him. He had no choice but to keep him. So that's why. And more than likely, he's going to have to keep next year too, because you're only going to save, I've looked this up on stream before, it's about $6 million. You're only going to save $6 million next year if you cut him, or you're going to have to eat like, I forgot what it is, but it's about like $13 million of his contract next year to cut him, and you're only going to save about $6 million. So I'm leaning that next year Golladay will probably be with the Giants as well. The following year, more than likely, unless he really takes off, he will not. But I expect Golladay to probably be here for 2 more years. Definitely this year. He had to come back. He's got the weight part down. Yeah, he does, man. Those big, yeah, man. Listen, if you can win games, I could care less what you look like. Mike Orga says, if the whole line and all the starting wide receivers go down for the season, it's no excuse for DJ. I have to laugh at the absurdity. I mean, here's what I'll say, Mike. I think you could say that it's an excuse for DJ, and I think that's fair to say. I'll say that. It's fair to say if all the wide receivers go down and the offensive line goes down, you could say, yeah, he struggled due in large part to that. But what I'll say to that, Mike, is time's up. Regardless of whose fault it is this year, Joe Schoen has told you time's up. And if it's bad luck this year for Jones, it's bad luck. That's just the nature of the beast. He has to have a good year this year. This offense has to have a good year this year, regardless of the circumstance, for him to remain on as the New York Giants quarterback. The Giants had the ability to sign him before the year started to a $21 million fifth-year extension. They elected not to do that, which to me says it's time to prove it. They've said all the right things. They said, we believe in you. We're going to put the pieces in place for you to succeed. And we feel could get the most out of your ability, in comparison to prior coaches here. If things go haywire this year, it's not going to matter. They will be moving on from Daniel Jones, regardless of what happens this year. If the team does not start to produce, he has to have a very good year, I think, to remain on as the Giants quarterback in 2023, regardless of what happens around him. Whether that's fair or not, you could certainly argue, but I think this is the time. He's got to put up or shut up this year. Let's see. Chris, let's see. Golladay ain't even get a real shot yet. Team was dumpster and injured last season. He's going to get a shot this year, man. Let's see. Wandell proved the couch GMs wrong in camp. Can't wait to see him in games. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't speak for everybody. My reaction when we drafted Wandell, I was just surprised because I remember this is the reason why I did research on Wandell, because I'm not a guy that's going to do research on every single prospect, right? There's a lot of channels that do really in-depth research on like 1,000 prospects before the draft. The reason I did research on Wandell prior to the draft was because all I heard leading up into the draft is he is the most similar in terms of skill set wide receiver, at least that was projected to be drafted relatively early, to Kadarius Toney. And at the time, even though it proved to be false and a bogus rumor, it came out that the Giants were at least entertaining the possibility of trading Kadarius Toney. So I said to myself, okay, if they trade Toney, and I could see Wandell Robinson really fitting this scheme, he could be a guy that the Giants could look to draft. But when I found out that Toney was staying on, my initial reaction was, all right, I'm a little bit surprised because he is very similar to Kadarius Toney in terms of, the type of wide receiver that he is. But then, when I had a day to think about it, I said to myself, okay, I have to see how they utilize these guys in this offense. I have to give them an opportunity, to see the plan that they have in place for Wandell Robinson and Kadarius Toney. And when I really thought about it, you think about the Chiefs offense, they have multiple wide receivers like that are capable of doing a lot of different things that you could kind of move around the football field. So I think they have a clear plan for him. They said it from day one, and I expect that to be the case this year. I think he's going to be a big part of this offense. I did. Well, he talked to the whole team, amazing guy. It wasn't just DJ in particular. He talked to the whole team. Slayton had his best day today, Flip. Slayton lost somebody in the back left corner of the end zone. He had his best day today. What's the latest on the turf? I haven't heard anything regarding that. I don't expect them to change it, at least this year. Patty, I'm on her channel all the time. She said that they changed the field like 3 years ago, so don't expect them to change it anytime soon. We'll see. Hopefully we have better luck in terms of the injuries, whether it's because of the field or whether it's because of, the medical staff or the way that we prep our players week to week. Hopefully we got better luck this year. Maybe it's just bad luck. Yeah, Slayton was great today, Ron. He was fantastic. If Jones improves his awareness and pocket presence, this could be a winning season. I agree with that. It could be if we stay healthy, which we have not been able to do. But here's what I'll say, J-Fed. For people that just blame the turf, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Because all you have to do is look at the Jets. The Jets play on the same exact field as the New York Giants do. And look at the amount of injuries they've had, not just last year, but in comparison since 2009. I saw a graphic that came up, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago on Twitter. And the Giants have by far the most injuries in the NFL. By far. They're number one. The Jets were like in the middle of the pack. And they play on the same exact field. So there's definitely more to it than just the field. Now, is it possible that the field contributes? Yeah, that's definitely possible. We've seen visiting coaches come in and complain about the turf. I think it was Shanahan when the 49ers played both the Jets and Giants back-to-back weeks, complained about the turf, said it definitely attributed to some of the injuries, I guess, against the Jets the week before. So I'm not saying it's completely, blameless, but I definitely think there's a lot more factors than just the turf. I agree with you on that. Let's see. Yeah, the stadium blows for sure. I'm not a big fan of the stadium. Slayton is a practice warrior. Can't wait to see him gone. I think you'll big nuts. I think he will be gone after this year, but I don't think you'll see him gone going into the season. I think he's going to make the team. David Sills was great today. Sills had his first standout day today, and it was really the first day that he got a big opportunity. It was probably because Galladay sat out. Galladay didn't practice today, so Sills got an opportunity with the first team offense, and yeah, he stood out. I think he had 5 catches. He caught a really nice deep ball down the right sideline. Probably won't make the team, unfortunately. I know a lot of Giants fans are rooting for him, but I just think when you look at our wide receiving core, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him to crack this team because now I don't know if Shepard's going to go against the 53 because I don't know if he's going to be rostered to start the year. But if he is, I don't know if he will be. You're looking at 4 guarantees if you include Shepard. Shepard, Tony, Wandell, and of course Kenny Galladay. Slayton's more than likely going to make the team. Richie James, I think, is absolutely going to make the team because he's on the team to be a kick returner. He's also looked really good in camp. And then you got a guy like CJ Board, for example. They brought him back, who's known to be a really good special teamer. And when you're looking at the 6th or 7th receiver, you're looking at, for other ways for them to contribute other than them just catching footballs, which is why a lot of the times your 6th, if you go with 7 wide receivers, is going to be a guy that, excels in special teams. So I know a lot of fans rooting for Sills, and maybe he will. Maybe he'll catch a break, whether it be, he just really shines in the preseason games, or maybe the Giants suffer a couple injuries at that position in preseason. I think it's going to be really tough for him to crack this roster, though, outside of that. Zahive says, what's rocking, Chris? Hope all is well, my man. Thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate it. I mean, I would guess he's probably going to be on the pup, but I don't know that for sure. He hasn't been practicing yet. But he may be on the practice squad. If another team doesn't pick him up, I'm sure the Giants will bring Sills back on the practice squad. And maybe he does get an opportunity at some point this year if he doesn't make the team. Chris, do you think FanFest can be canceled if it rains? Yes, I definitely think it could be. Hopefully it doesn't. I haven't looked at the weather report. But yes, I definitely think it could be because at that point, Giants probably just moved their practice into the bubble and they're not going to, I doubt they would practice in the rain. So hopefully not. Hopefully that's not the case. I haven't looked at the weather report. That would suck. Didn't even think about that. Can you say happy birthday to Elijah Cole? Happy birthday, Elijah Cole, man. Thanks for popping in, buddy. It's gonna rain? I hope not. That would suck. Wide receiver prediction. Shep, Tony, Wandell, Kenny, Slayton, Richie, Colin, Johnson. If they go with 7, I don't think that's a horrible prediction if they go with 7. But we'll see. They might only go with 6. What's up, Chase, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. Friday is 60% thunderstorms. Well, hopefully the thunderstorms are done earlier in the day, but not too early because we're going to be tailgating at 3 o'clock. Maybe they'll back it up too, Nick. Maybe they'll back it up to the following Friday or something like that. Who knows? But I would imagine they'd cancel it if it's going to be raining, but I could be wrong. Oh man, I didn't even look at the forecast. That sucks. Hopefully that won't be the case because I was really looking forward to doing that. How's DJ looking at camp, Chris? Again, I'm not a guy that's going to get super excited or super down, regardless of how, the quarterback's performing in camp, especially since they've only had one practice in pads. He's in a new scheme. All these wide receivers, not all of them, but a lot of these wide receivers haven't had much experience catching balls from him in this scheme. So I'm not going to read too much into it. But today he looked good. But just like I'm not going to flip out when he looks bad, supposedly, I'm not going to be overly excited when he looks good. I'm going to be even keel. I'm going to wait till the regular season, and we'll see how he plays. I'm not going to be a guy that says replace Daniel Jones week 1, week 2, week 3. I'm not doing that. I, as a fan, and everybody's entitled to do what they want to do and have their own opinion, I'm going to give this guy a real opportunity this year. We have no choice. And I'd like to see whether or not he could excel in this new scheme. I know what Tyrod Taylor is. Tyrod Taylor is, at this point, a backup. He's a guy that is a journeyman backup that has been used to mentor young rookie quarterbacks at his previous 3-4 destinations. I don't see much of a benefit outside of, if he is slightly better than Jones, winning an extra game or two. I would rather see whether or not Daniel Jones can hit his ceiling. So I'm not going to give up on the kid after 3, 4, 5 games. I'm going to give him a real opportunity this year to hopefully grasp this offense and hopefully reach his ceiling. If he does not, we're moving on. But I'm going to give him an opportunity, and I do think that Dable and Shane are as well. How far am I from the stadium? I'm about depends. If there's traffic longer, the last couple of days it's been about an hour and a half. If there's traffic, closer to 2 hours. You call it deja vu, authentic, but that's just my opinion on the matter. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones at all. I've never been sold on Daniel Jones. I thought he'd have a better year last year, but I've never been sold on Daniel Jones in terms of being a franchise quarterback. But to me, he's our best option in terms of long-term this year. Even if you think Tyrod Taylor is just as good, he's our best option long-term in terms of seeing whether or not he could hit his ceiling. We know Tyrod Taylor's ceiling. We don't necessarily know Daniel Jones's yet. Irish man, thank you very much, man. Players have higher rate of non-contact injuries when playing on turf compared to turf. Giants can afford turf. It can't hurt to switch. I wouldn't listen. I know that's listen. I want them to switch. I want the Giants to do whatever they possibly can to alleviate themselves of some of the problems they've been having in terms of injuries on this football team, whether that be changing the training staff, the medical staff, whatever. The way that you pray before football games, the turf, do whatever you got to do. Maybe it had something to do with the way that Joe Judge ran the practices, but this problem goes long before Joe Judge was the New York Giants head coach. So a lot of it's probably bad luck as well. I don't think that's the only factor, but that's probably some of it as well. So hopefully we start to get a little bit more lucky. Damn, it's so fun. Yeah, that's 10. That's awesome. Yeah, well, Tyrod could definitely man the shit better than Mike Glennon. I mean, that's not saying much, but for sure. Tyrod Taylor is a very good quarterback. Again, that's your opinion. I think he's an okay quarterback. I think he's a decent quarterback. Do I think he's a guy that's going to be a franchise guy? No. Do I think Jones is? Probably not. But at least there's a slight chance where with Tyrod Taylor, there's no chance. He's not going to be a franchise quarterback. Not at his age. Let's see what we got. I've been saying for a while, Dory will be cornerback 1 for the next few years, and right now he's proven me right. I sure hope so, man. I think we need him to step up this year. Chris, I just got breaking news for you. Joe Judge will make a fan. Yeah, right. John Felicio. I mean, I would think if he was healthy, he'd be out there. I mean, he was out. He was in uniform today, but see, he didn't practice. But I mean, he's competing for a roster spot, so I would think if he was completely healthy, he'd be out there, and hopefully he's out there sooner than later. Hey, Chris, what do you think about the fan base being so divided on DJ? I mean, it comes with the territory, Miguel. At the end of the day, I don't know how old you are, Miguel. I don't know how old everybody else in the chat is. But if social media was as popular back then as it is today, you would have saw the same exact thing with Eli Manning. The fan base was incredibly divided with Eli Manning. His first 4 before he won his Super Bowl, and even after he won his first Super Bowl, probably around 2010, they started to become incredibly divided again. So it comes with the territory. Listen, New York sports fans are as passionate as they come. They're as educated as they come, and they're going to analyze everything. And it comes with the territory. You know, when you get drafted by the New York Giants to play the most high-powered position on a football team, you're going to have a lot of pressure. Eli Manning dealt with a ton of pressure. I expected nothing different from Daniel Jones. So I'm not surprised by it. I'm not surprised that the fan base is divided. And to be honest with you, I completely understand why people want to, are not in love with Daniel Jones. He just has not quite simply done enough. I think most Giant fans recognize he has not been put in a good situation, but he's also not elevated the team. So I understand the argument for people that are, don't feel that Daniel Jones is going to be the long-term answer. But for this year, yeah, I think he's definitely our best option to be the starting quarterback. Phil Simms would have been run out of New York. Oh, in today's day and age, James, 100%. For people that always say it's apples and oranges, I see that argument all the time on Twitter from people when they say it took, I don't know how many years it took, but it took a long time for Phil Simms to really hit his stride. I know he had an injury. When people say in today, he would have been run out of town, the difference between Phil Simms back then and the quarterbacks today, the salary cap. There was no salary cap back then. So you had the luxury of really being patient with your quarterback and molding him into the quarterback that you want it to be. In today's day and age, look at what Kyler Murray got. He's been in the league just as long as Daniel Jones, right? He's played 4 years in the NFL. He got a $46 million per year contract. So the process is just so accelerated, and it's why you see these quarterbacks thrown into the fire as quickly as they are. It's just a different game. It's a different element with the salary cap. So when people bring up the Phil Simms argument and Daniel Jones, it's apples and oranges. It's apples and oranges. And unfortunately, you got to produce much quicker than you did back when Phil Simms played, specifically at that position because of the amount of money that they make. Harrison says, rank the New York boroughs from worst to best. Oh, man, I don't want to offend anybody, man. I ain't going to offend nobody, man. I'll say this, man. I've lived in Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn. I've frequented Queens several times. I love Queens. I love Manhattan. I'll leave the other two out of it. All right. NY Giants 26 says, you believe in ghosts? I do. That was our right tackle last season. Anyways, what undrafted free agent have shown out in camp, and which ones do you think make the final 53? Listen, I haven't been to camp every day. I haven't been to camp every day. I've been to camp twice now, so it's hard for me to tell you which undrafted free agents have really stood out. But Corker was the one undrafted free agent that I predicted, before it started, that would make the team. But after they added Andrew Adams, that may not be the case. He obviously, his probability of making the team has gone up since Belton went down with the injury. I still think he stands a decent chance to make this team, but we'll see. Like I said, man, I will have a better grasp after I see these preseason games in terms of which undrafted free agents I feel like have at least a decent chance to make this Giants football team. But I had him as the favorite in terms of the UDFAs that stood the best chance to make the 53-man roster when it got underway, just because we're kind of thin at that spot. And, he seemed like a guy that I thought had a decent chance to make an impact in preseason and training camp. Nick says, no, I'm not, Nick. No, I'm not. That was just a one-year contract. I'm not affiliated. I do have a new sponsor, but I haven't announced it yet. But I do have a new sponsor that I'm gonna announce right before the season starts. But not them. Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island. There you go. That's your rankings. Chris, you think a Thunderstorms Friday will be? I don't know. I really don't know. I hope it would be rescheduled if they cancel, but I honestly don't know. We definitely need better coverage linebackers. I've been saying that since I've been on YouTube. I mean, that's something that the New York Giants really haven't had. We have not had great coverage linebackers. I think that's why a lot of fans were super excited about the possibility of drafting Isaiah Simmons back in 2020 because of, all the different things that he could do on a football field. But for sure, we definitely need a coverage linebacker. That'll be a need that hopefully, we find in maybe in next year's draft or potentially free agency. I haven't looked at the free agents, but we will have some money next year. Chris, are you concerned about players having golf clubs near their lockers? No. Is that a real question? No. Vince Scully passed? That's horrible. if that's true. That's horrible, man. One of the probably the greatest baseball play-by-play man in the history of the sport. That's horrible if that's true. That would suck if FanFest gets. Yeah, man. Oh, you're flying in from Dallas? Oh my God. For your sake, I really hope it doesn't get canceled. Man, that would suck. Hopefully it does not happen, man. Who's the opening day? I think it's gonna be Richie James. I can't tell you for sure if he's gonna do both St. Village, but I think Richie James is definitely gonna be probably the kick returner for sure. He was that with the 49ers. I think that's why we brought him over here, and he's had a good camp. So I think he stands a really good chance to be the kick returner. I could see them using Wan'Dale Robinson at times, for sure, but probably not full time. But yeah, I think Richie James stands a really good chance to be the kick returner. Chris, as a Giants fan in Texas, we need to sweep the Cowboys this season. Listen, I'm not gonna be greedy, Renee. I mean, I'd love to sweep the Cowboys, but I just take one. We haven't beaten Dak Prescott since his rookie year. I know we beat the Cowboys in 2020, but that wasn't Dak. So I'll take one. And if I had to pick one, give it to me on Thanksgiving. Give it to me in Dallas. But I would love a sweep. Let's see. Free food at Fest kicks the crap out of medium Pepsis. Yes, it does. Cowboys thin at wide receiver. They are, obviously, with Gallup out. They lost Amari Cooper. Their offensive line is not going to be quite as good this year, or at least it's projected not to be. So I think this is the first year you're going to actually, how for years Giants fans said when they signed Dak, they're not going to be able to overcome the contract and what it's going to do to the team. This is the first year where you're going to really get to see that, whether or not the Cowboys start to tail off, when they start to lose some talent on that team because they paid Dak and because they paid Ezekiel Elliott that ridiculous contract. So we'll see. I do think the Dallas Cowboys do take a step back this year, and I think it has as much to do with the defense as the offense, and I'm going to explain that. The defense last year for the Cowboys was really good. It was much better than people thought it would be. Let's put it that way. But what they did last year, in my opinion, is unsustainable. The amount of turnovers the Dallas Cowboys were able to create last year, I do not think they'll be able to duplicate this year. And I think that's why the defense surprised as much as it did. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying the defense is going to be garbage, but I don't think it'll be as good as it was last year. It was an opportunistic defense that, I don't know if it led the league in turnovers, but at one point they were leading the league in turnovers. I don't see them doing that again. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I think the defense will take a bit of a step back. And of course, they lost talent on the offense. So I could definitely see the Dallas Cowboys regressing a bit this year. I still have respect for them. I still think they're probably at least a 9-win team, but I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year. Nick DeWick, he says, remember the Joe Judge quote about golf clubs? Oh, yeah, now I get the reference. Now that you said that. That flew over my head. Yes. Yes, good call, Nick, man. Thank you. He says, and Connor says, how worried are you about the news we're hearing about Jones? Do you think it's a good thing he's showing he's not scared to let it loose? It's exactly what I want. Listen, you're going to have fans this year, Connor, and rightfully so. They have every right to be all over Daniel Jones. It's year 4 in the NFL. You play the most important position. You're going to have fans all over him from the start of the season. But at the end of the day, Connor, if I want them to open up this offense, I got to be more open to Daniel Jones making more mistakes. If they're not going to baby Daniel Jones, he's probably going to make more mistakes. He cannot make as many mistakes as his rookie year, however, okay? I am not going to mind interceptions this year from Daniel Jones if it means that it results in more points. If this offense is more aggressive, if this offense moves the chains and we're putting up a lot more points than we have the 2 previous years, when you're more aggressive, when you open up the offense, it lends itself to more turnovers. So, of course, on an individual play, I may flip out if Jones makes a really bad decision. But in the entirety, if the Giants are putting more points on the board, if they have a more explosive offense, I would rather go down swinging than looking at strike 3. And the Giants the last 2 years basically have been standing at the plate like this, and they watch the ball go by. They haven't even given their offense an opportunity to go out there and win themselves football games. And I understood it in the rookie year. The second year for Jones, but the rookie year with Joe Judge. I understood it. that year. The second year, they needed to open it up more. The first year, I understood it. The pandemic, they had a very shortened offseason, a brand new coach, Jones in a brand new scheme, young quarterback. I understood it. You got to find out what you have in the quarterback this year. And if it means Jones throws, 14, 15 picks this year, but it results in a lot more touchdowns, sometimes you got to take some of the bad to improve elsewhere. So I'm okay with more interceptions this year if it means we're putting a lot more points on the board. Yeah, Sills had a good day for sure, man. I'm going to still lean that he does not make the roster. But I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't know if they're going to have injuries at the wide receiver position. I just don't know. I am not. I am not going to preseason games. I don't think so, Evan. No, I'll be streaming them. I'll be live on YouTube streaming them, but I don't think I'm going to any preseason games. NFL Expert says, Chris, is there going to be free food? Yes, there is. If we now have it. I didn't know about the rain. Hopefully that won't ruin it. And the Maze says, Pat Leonard reported that you came down with a case of the monkeypox. Maze, yeah, man. Pat Leonard, he's just he's spreading lies about me. He must have not liked the tweet that I put out after he tweeted out that article. Well, I forgot exactly what I said. I think I said Pat Leonard sucks. That simple. And it got like 800 likes. I was expecting to get like 50 likes. It had no context. I didn't even put Giants in the tweet. Pat Leonard sucks. One thing I'll say about Pat Leonard, as much as I can't stand him, he unites Giants fans. Because there are a lot of Giants fans on Twitter that I strongly disagree with for the most part in terms of their overall opinions. When it comes to Pat Leonard, man, we join arms. So maybe Pat Leonard does need to stick around because he brings Giants fans together more so than anybody else. So he definitely unites Giants fans, man. I started finding friends on the other side. I was like, oh my God, I've been waiting to agree with you on something for the last 3 years regarding the New York Giants. We could agree that Pat Leonard sucks. So maybe he does need to stick around. Let's see what we got here. What is FanFest like? Basically, Shane, FanFest, at least for what we're doing, it's going to be a tailgate. I don't know what time you could get there, Shane. The doors open up at 6, but Bobby, myself, Justin, license plate guy, sponsored by, Bobby's company, John Boy Media. We're going to have a tailgate, I think at 3. So we're going to be there 3 hours beforehand. They're going to provide all the food. So show up. I hopefully have enough food this year because I'm guessing there's going to be more people that show up because we had a lot of fun last year. But they're going to provide all the food, and we're going to do a live show from the parking lot. You got to bring your own beer if you intend to drink beer or soda, whatever. But they may provide soda and soda and water rather. I don't remember, but yeah, we're going to do a live show from the parking lot. Myself, Bobby, Justin, and license plate guy. I think until about 5 maybe, and then we'll go in at 6. Then when you go in, it's kind of like it's kind of like going to training camp, but in the Giant Stadium. It's an organized practice. You're going to see some 11-on-11s, 1-on-1, 7-on-7s. You're going to get to see them run through their drills, maybe a little bit more extensive. I remember last year, Gano kicked a ton of field goals. Haven't really seen that so much in training camp. So it's probably a little bit better than a training camp session, but about the same. And then at the end, there's fireworks. So if I remember correctly, inside the stadium was probably about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I can't remember. It definitely wasn't like the length of like a full football game. It wasn't like 3 hours. But the most fun part for me is the tailgate beforehand, at least for me. Getting to meet, a bunch of Giant fans and people that watch the channel, getting to hang out with Bobby, Justin, and all the other content creators. Authentics in the chat. He was there last year. It was a lot of fun. So it's definitely cool. And, if you're somebody that's never been to the stadium, it's cool. You get your opportunity to go into the stadium for free. I don't think they charge for parking, if I remember correctly. It's just like training camp. Everything's free. You get to go in and check out the stadium as well. So, yeah, it's a good experience. And Julian, man, thank you very much. He says, I know he isn't great, but Tate Crowder did have over 100 tackles last year. I think he will hold down the inside linebacker 2 position. Can't have all pros everywhere. I think he's probably the favorite as of now. Julian, I wouldn't be shocked, though, if he gets replaced at some point in the season. Crowder, I'm not going to completely destroy the guy. He did, like you said. He had 100 tackles. But he is a big-time liability in coverage. And we both know that Blake Martinez isn't the best in coverage either. So I agree with you, though, that he's probably the favorite to start the year at the second inside linebacker spot. But I would not be shocked at all if at some point in this season, even if it's early, that one of those two rookie linebackers we drafted supplant him. McFadden hasn't gotten much of an opportunity, amazing guy. It's been Beavers that's been getting, more of the looks. And Beavers look good today, at least on that one play, man. It was the Beavers play today against Bachman was probably Adoree Jackson's interceptions probably were, but it was one of the highlight plays of the day. Seeing him drop back in coverage on like a 40-yard pass. I didn't think he had that in him. Talking about Phil Simms. Yeah, Phil Simms won, I think he had to have won Super Bowl MVP that year. Yep, still holds the record for I think it's the best QB rating as well. Maybe not the best QB rating because I know Steve Young threw 6 touchdowns, but the highest completion percentage in Super Bowl history. Hello, mate. What's going on there? Barry, man, thanks for popping in, man. When I met you last year, darn it. Yes. I hope so, Nick, man. I hope he has a big year this year, man. So far, so good, man. He showed up in camp, man. Tana, do you think Carson Wentz surprises? I'm going to say, and listen, I don't hate Carson Wentz. He was pretty good, at least statistically. He was pretty good he was very good statistically for the Colts last year. What I will say is there's a reason the Colts let him go. He obviously didn't meet the expectations that they wanted. They gave up pretty decent draft capital to bring him in. But I still think Carson Wentz is at least a average starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he had a lot of mental issues with Philadelphia. After they took Hurts, he felt, and obviously he wasn't getting along with Doug Peterson. So he kind of forced his way out of there. But I look at Washington, and I'm not saying he might be pretty good, but I look at Washington, I don't think they have, an incredible supporting cast around him. They don't have like this incredible scheme. They've got some pretty good weapons. I could see him being relatively successful, but I don't expect Carson Wentz to go out there and light the league on fire this year. I don't expect that. But what I will say is he is a significant upgrade over what they've had in recent years at the quarterback spot. NFL Expert says, Chris, I just got more breaking news. Pat Leonard wrote it himself. He has now named himself and replaced Dable. You're going to see a lot of Giants fans jump ship if that were to happen. I know. I didn't like what the Mets did. Well, yeah. The Mets, here's what I'll say, Bowler. The Mets improved. They didn't improve as much as I was hoping they would. They definitely improved the DH with the platoon that they have there. They improved in their bullpen. They improved in terms of the depth in the outfield, but they didn't get a lefty arm in the bullpen. Had they gotten another arm that was a lefty, I would have been content with what they did at the trade deadline. But I don't think they did enough. I'm not thrilled with what the Mets did at the deadline. I wouldn't say they necessarily lost the deadline, but they didn't improve as much as I wanted them to. They needed a lefty, especially after the Padres added 2 big lefty sticks. Good chance we could play them in the playoffs. We need a lefty, man. So I was very disappointed we weren't able to get one. I don't know, Ray. I don't really see a lefty arm, and that to me is their biggest weakness right now, man. I think they needed to sign a lefty. I don't. Man, they came up empty for me in that spot, and I thought that was our biggest need. I really do. Yeah, the Phillies got better for sure. Phillies made a lot of moves. I mean, a lot of teams got better. The Astros got better. The Yankees got better. Of course, the Padres got significantly better. 2 days until Nick, I'll probably do that during football season. Patel says 2 days until the first preseason game in the NFL. Football is back. Yeah, man, I can't wait, dude. All right, Book. Yeah, man, I'm going to close this out in like 5 minutes. I just like talking to you guys. Alan says, I have a question. How does tailgating work for the usual game? Do you just go and join a random group and get free food? Or do you have to pay? I mean, traditionally speaking, Alan, yeah, unless it's like an organized tailgate, like what Bobby's doing, or if you know somebody that's doing a tailgate, yeah, you're not going to just be able to walk up to a random person and be like, oh, can I have a hot dog? I mean, maybe the guy's nice, but I wouldn't bank on that. So If you're not invited to a tailgate, usually you got to provide your own food. Yeah, I agree, Densley. The Mets definitely got better. I'm worried that they didn't get better enough. With a lot of the other additions that the teams in the National League made. But we're still a really good team. We still could definitely compete this year to win a World Series. But I really wanted a lefty arm in the pen. Let's see. Chris says, it's all good. Let all these teams mortgage their future. You're talking about the baseball? Chris, I miss Eli's clutch moments. I didn't appreciate him the way I should have. And I think a lot of Giants fans didn't appreciate Eli the way they should have. But most of them, I think, are younger fans, and I can't blame them for that. Like if I probably, I'm trying to think back, but I probably didn't appreciate, I'm trying to think of a player. I can't give you a name off the top of my head, but I'm sure there were players that I didn't get to see them at their best when I was a kid growing up that I didn't appreciate as much as I should have. But yeah, I mean, I always said that. I said when Eli's gone, people are going to regret the way they thought about him on the way out. Franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees. I actually appreciated Tiki Barber. He was the first player I fell in love with. I named my dog after Tiki Barber. I just didn't like what Tiki did on the way out. But in terms of a football player, I love Tiki Barber. He was my first Giant player I fell in love with. I love Tiki Barber. Let's see what we got. Let me just read this real quick. Julie, man, thank you very much, man. Where do you think Will Hill's career would have been if he didn't have issues? P.S. We should have never been illegal, but that's another topic. Yeah, I mean, Will Hill. I mean, there's been another Will that I think of that I really was Will Allen. He was another Will that I really liked that the Giants drafted. I think he was a first-round cornerback that the Giants drafted that never quite worked out. Yeah, I mean, there's so many what ifs. We talked about David Wilson last time around, but yeah, I mean, you could say that about so many athletes. But yeah, he's definitely a major what if. I think he would have been a very good football player. But yeah. I always think of the two Wills when people bring up the name Will Peterson and Will Allen. I remember I was really excited about them in the secondary for the Giants, and they never really panned out. Raphael says, there's football this month. Let's go. Can't wait. Mets will have more ammo to trade this offseason while many teams are emptying the chamber right now. I think next year will be more aggressive, but this was the time to be aggressive. I mean, the Mets have as good of a chance as anybody to win a World Series. This is when you take the shot. I understand that we didn't have the greatest farm system, so we may have not had, all the prospects that these other teams had, but I think they need to do a bit more than they did. Yeah, he did play well with the Ravens. Will home. But guys, I am going to wrap this up. I am sweating. I'm hot. I didn't intend to go. Well, I always go later than I intend to, but I had a lot of fun. Let me get Ray real quick. Kenny Phillips is the big. Yes, Kenny Phillips. I think he went to Miami, right? The safety. Yes, he's another huge what if, and a guy that a lot of Giants fans were in love with when we initially took him. But it is what it is. But guys, I'm gonna close it out. Ray, man, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. Everybody who supports the channel, everybody that called in, everybody that was here, everybody that hit the thumbs up, everybody that subscribed, everybody that donated. I appreciate all you guys. I'm gonna. For anybody that's interested in the baseball content, I am going to be live a lot for this Braves series coming up. I'm going to do probably 3, if not 4, play-by-play. Probably 3, because I'm going to the game on Sunday against the Braves. But it's a huge series, so I'm going to be doing that. I will be live next time I go to training camp, which is going to be next Tuesday. And for sure the preseason games. And, yeah, if there's anything worth talking about, I'll have a couple of Giants videos out as well. Can't wait for the season to get underway. And I appreciate all you guys for tuning in and all the support you guys always show. You guys have a great rest of your night. And, we'll talk soon. Have a good night, guys.